Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 237th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining us this evening we have Adam Smido-Smith, Donny Baseball, Andy Patterson, Gabe, Rob Kelly, and Big Russ has jumped on the call as well. He now has Hangouts on his phone. I'm just hearing myself.
Someone's got YouTube on.
So I'm just going to turn this off right now.
That's you, Steve, is it?
That was me, boys. Amateur hour. I left myself running in the background. I can only apologise. I am now off. Right, on to the boxing anyway. VASYL Lomachenko against Miguel Marriaga from America. I was watching this one this morning. What I was just about to say before I heard myself talking in the background there, I have been a little bit critical of Lomachenko in the past, and people have pulled me up on it on Twitter, rightly so. But I was actually impressed with the guy last night. I know a few people weren't too happy on Twitter. I don't want to be the contrarian all the time. But whenever you're fighting an opponent who is overmatched, undersized, you get him out of there, and that is exactly what Lomachenko did. I know Donny was pretty happy with the performance. You can't argue what this guy is doing, Donny. 9-1, I think he is now 10-1, something like that. He is absolutely flying through people. I'm glad he's active. He's fighting at world level. How can we be angry with this guy, Donny? Superb performance last night.
You know, we can't be angry with him, Steve. And actually, I think that, first of all, I had previously said, the reason why Lomachenko, isn't like a Golovkin is because, and he doesn't seem to be gathering that following, is because I said he wasn't a power puncher. Well, I think now, with a streak of 6 consecutive knockouts, I think he has to be considered a real puncher. He was on the verge of getting Marriaga out of there. Marriaga had never been stopped by anyone, including but not limited to a very good version of Nicholas Walters, who, of course, is a big hitter. So when he was on the verge of maybe getting the stoppage, his corner decided to pull him out, which I thought was the correct decision. He was taking a pretty good pasting in there. So I think that, Lomachenko, he is a good hitter. He did get the exposure last night on ESPN, free television. Free to the whole world. I actually looked last night on Twitter. That was the number 2 thing, trending on Twitter was the Lomachenko Marriaga fight. He's getting his name out there. The only thing that's going to set him back a little bit is that, and I think I mentioned this last week, he's on so much guaranteed money through Arum. I think it's impossible to keep him as active as Golovkin was in his first, sort of stint in America, where Golovkin was fighting 4 and 5 times a year. They can't do that for Lomachenko because of the amount of money he's on. Whereas when Golovkin came here, he didn't come here with any expectations, and he was fighting for low money. By being able to put himself in LA and then in New York and then in, all these different places, as you go along or whatever, he was able to get his name out there. I think that if Lomachenko could just be a little bit more active, maybe if he was willing to take a little bit shorter money, even if the opponents weren't even that good, I think that he could really, put his name out there and could become a real attraction. But because he probably will not stay as active as Golovkin did when he first came to America, it may be very difficult for him. But really, this guy is amazing. I think I said last night, in our chat we were talking on the pod, you could literally just watch this guy's feet for an entire fight and then just rewatch the fight later on. But you would learn so much by watching his feet. The footwork is tremendous. The offense blends into the defense. There's a great sort of video clip that I tweeted out earlier of Golovkin actually ducking a body punch, where he actually ducks underneath a shot that Marriaga intended to throw to the body. His movement, his skills, his athleticism, everything is on point. I know that he hadn't necessarily proven it yet to the way like Andre Ward has, but in terms of the clearly visible talent and natural ability, he has to be number 1 pound for pound in that respect. Resume-wise, I don't give it to him yet, but in terms of what this guy can do, there's just really no limit. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, Rob Kelly, just at the end of the bout there, we noticed a few bumps and bruises on the cheeks of Lomachenko. It showed that he'd been in a fight, even though I didn't see him being hit flushed too often. He pushed Marriaga onto the back foot and he took it to him. and he was having fun in there, wasn't he? Tapping him on top of the head, dropping back into the corner. But I like the way that he showed the killer instinct. He wasn't content to just dance around him like he was in those. I think it was 3 early fights after Gary Russell. He fought like Korasicha and a Thailand guy, and I thought he was content to just run around, show his footwork, show his flashy moves. But in this one, he put it all out there. He said, "I'm getting rid of this guy. He's not supposed to be in the ring with me," and that's the type of killer instinct we wanted to see.
Well, I think he's learned from some of Rigondeaux's mistakes in how to kind of appease the crowd in America. Of course, it helps. It helps the way he looks from that aspect. But I think he's seen the criticism that that Rigo's gotten, and he knows with Arum, he has to get guys out of there. Arum said it when he had Rigo. I don't care how good he is, he has to knock people out. So he knows when he's up against somebody overmatched that he can, that the opponent is overmatched, that he can toy with him and then take him out whenever he needs to. Absolutely phenomenal skill. Unbelievable skill, the things he's doing in the ring. You want to watch that Roy Jones one though, come into the corner, because Marriaga tagged him with those three times when he went into the corner. Granted, he couldn't hurt him, but no, I think he's like a phenomenal fighter. I would just like to see him at this stage fight better guys. I mean, I know it's not necessarily his fault or whatever, and there's not really that many guys out there that can test him, but I'd like to just see him. I didn't like this fight. Salido didn't take it. I understand, and you know the reasons behind it. He's getting the big showcase, but just imagine him versus Salido on the big network would have been just a better fight, better interest and all that. Like, but I really like Lomachenko. I just want to really see him. And I tell you what I really like about him. He's after learning English, and he has the banter. Like he is a little. He's got the kind of, you know, the kind of showmanship side to him. He has got a bit of charisma, and I think that'll come along the more he learns English. I noticed in his interviews in the build-up to this fight, he's a lot more witty, a lot more cutting with his remarks when going in English and stuff like so. I think he has the potential to be an even bigger star. And it's just who do we want to see him in with? I mean, it's Mikey, really, Linares, or Gervonta Davis that we want to see him fight. I think he probably smokes 2 out of 3 of those guys easily. The other one gives him a fight, and then I don't know then.
So Dave Loback just came on the call, and apparently he said he was going to be with us because he was going to be with some girls. I guess Dave Loback isn't getting any pussy tonight.
Unless he raped them and wiped his dick in their hair.
Holy shit.
Well, usually I'll just string them out for a few hours, you know, give them all the best time of their lives.
My man.
I hurried along and just finished real quick because, you know, I had to make the podcast.
Well, Dave, it's always good to hear from you. Are you on the job now?
No, I just finished the job, just leaving them to clean up. I just wanted to come on and say, fuck Lomachenko.
Dave, he got the job done really quickly, just like you did in the 7th round. What's not to like?
Yeah, why is he even taking this fight? It reminds me of a fight that Floyd would have taken. It's garbage. I don't like it. I mean, I know that Gervonta Davis is avoiding that fight, but then there's no excuse for that either. But just Lomachenko seems content to me to fight bums or guys. They're not bums. Marriaga's not a bum. Neither are the last couple opponents he's taken, but they're not at his level. So I don't want to see it. I don't care. I didn't even watch last night.
Oh, even though it was on ESPN?
That's real hater talk. What the fuck, man?
No, didn't watch.
But the thing is, right, fucking Salido back took the rematch. Davis is making any sort of excuse under the sun. Fucking who's the other one?
But to be fair, though, I don't think...
I
think Davis would take the fight. I mean, I remember that he actually called out Floyd on Twitter, and he was like, I want a big fight. I think Davis is like, you know, he's young, he's hungry. I think he wants the fights or whatever, but I think much like, and this is, of course, at a much larger scale, like in the sense that GVP really, they're only like their big money fighter or whatever, their hope for, you know, the entire future of the organization is Canelo, right? And so they have all of their eggs in that basket, and that's why it took them so long to take the Golovkin fight. You know, with Mayweather, the only good thing that the Mayweather Promotions really has going for them right now is Gervonta Davis, and they're not ready for him to take a loss, especially when he's so young and so green. But I do think he wants it. I just think that they don't want to let him do it yet, kind of like a Canelo situation.
Andy, forgetting about the fact that Marriaga was moving up and about his name, which a lot of the American casual sports fans probably wouldn't have heard of, even though he's fought Valdez and he's fought Walters on American TV. Given the fact it was on ESPN, did Bob Arum need to just deliver someone like him who didn't move the head too much, who was tough, who was going to try and bring it, and someone who stylistically would make Lomachenko look good?
Oh, I suppose, and you get the showcase fight, I suppose, on ESPN. But you know, as Donny says there about Gervonta Davis, you know, they're not ready to take that loss. You know, Adam's got an in-house fighter that he can make a unification fight against, or bring up via you call him? Is it Valdez? Oscar Valdez, you can bring him up and fight him, but he's not going to take that L either. You know, people are really pushing to have Lomachenko go up in weight, to obviously go up to lightweight. But you think about it, the weight that he's fighting at just now is roughly what he was fighting at as an amateur. So he's comfortable. He's probably not absolutely draining himself or cutting a lot of weight to make it. So unless we can get the unification fights, you know, Corrales, I think he's made up some sort of excuse or whatever. You know, if people really want to see him go up to lightweight, say take on the bigger guys, I think you should maybe go for Berchelt. That guy's fucking massive for that weight division. So if that is the case, I would like to see that fight get made next. Get some of the unifications fights made. He's made it clear, Lomachenko, that he's going to hang around for a year with Salido. He's going to give him another year at least, because at that point he's going to say he's far too old. Tevin Farmer, we know, I think he got shot, was it last weekend or whatever?
Shot in the hands, yeah.
Uchiyama's retired. Brian Vasquez, I think, did he not get beat the other night there? Brian Vasquez, he went up.
Yeah, he lost to Ray Beltran, didn't he?
I never saw that fight. Johnny Gonzalez is still kind of kicking around about. Vargas, Maurer's retired. You know, so really, there's not really much you think about it. If you look at the depths of that division, there is fights that have been made, but there's nobody on his level. So you've got to be looking at the unification fights. And again, politics are going to get involved here. Mayweather's not going to want to do business with Arum, regardless. So again, you can see why people are starting to push for him to move up in weight. Is it fair for him? Because I always back Golovkin to stay at middleweight. People were pushing for him to go up in weight.
How about Linares? I think that would be a fantastic fight.
Well, Linares, he's got a WBC mandatory, and is he then meant to be getting mandated to fight Garcia at some point?
Andy, are you trying to say that the Luke Campbell fight is a gimme for Linares?
Oh, fuck aye. Oh, fuck aye. He's getting knocked out. If he lasts the distance, actually, I'll give him a lot of credit. I will give him a lot of props.
Just before we get Smido in, do you think we'll ever see this Salido fight?
No. I think, what's $750,000? You still not that fight back? Are you fucking kidding me? That is me. I would fight Lomachenko for that money and retire off it. Absolutely. I mean, there's no way that fight's going to happen anymore. And the way, I don't know if the Yanks can maybe help me out here, but Lomachenko again said there last night the Garcia fight won't happen because of the contract situation with TV networks. Right now, Garcia says the fight must happen with Showtime. Lomachenko's confirmed that he's still got a deal with HBO, but there he's fighting on ESPN last night. So unless that actually suited HBO for that fight to happen on ESPN, we're going to end up with a fucking mess.
The exclusivity, though, of the HBO contract applies to premium cable networks, like, in other words,
pay-per-view.
Yeah. Well, no, not pay-per-view, but it applies to the pay cable networks like HBO and Showtime. Like, in other words, Golovkin has a pay cable contract with HBO or whatever. But if, like, they wanted to throw him on ESPN for, like, a fight or something just to increase his exposure, they're fine with that. HBO just doesn't want him fighting on Showtime. That's the only thing.
Oh, so it's like, say, Eddie Hearn wouldn't mind putting one of his fighters hypothetically on Channel 5, but he wouldn't put them on BT Sports.
Right, yeah. Like, you wouldn't mind if it's on free TV for a bit, but it's just like they don't want you fighting on a rival pay cable network. Like, the thing with Stevenson and Kovalev, right? So it wasn't that Kovalev couldn't fight on free TV if he wanted to, it's just that he couldn't fight on Showtime.
Thanks, Donny. Right, Smido, we had a question in from Sean McLarnon. I don't know where you stand on this. Someone mentioned it earlier about the stoppage. Sean says, although I can totally understand it, was the corner around too early in pulling out Marriaga? If he was a British fighter, we'd be giving the corner serious amounts of shit, I reckon. What do you think, Smid?
What round did it finish at the end of the
seventh?
Yeah.
The seventh. He was getting fucking clowned, man.
I watched it this morning on Box Nation. They had the Teddy Atlas and Timothy Bradley commentary, and that commentary were taking no notice of what I was seeing in the fifth, sixth, and seventh. He was hurting him real bad with some uppercuts, and some body shots as well, left up to the body, particularly was hurting him. They didn't quite react to it as I was. I thought, as I said to the missus a couple of times, that this is it now, done, and it went an extra round, and I thought it would, to be honest. So no, I didn't have any problem with that. I mean, I've been impressed with Lomachenko as much as anyone, to be honest. He's almost a bit like Triple G in a sense when he was at a similar stage. In that game plans, strategies, training all goes out the window as soon as you felt Triple G's power, and as soon as you realise how good Lomachenko is, footwork and whatnot. It just put like Marriaga was straight on the back foot, and that was a bad idea. But obviously, it's a lot easier said than done. When Marriaga did start coming forward a little bit, had a little bit of success with some desperate overhand rights. It was kind of a different fight, in the fourth and fifth. But in the first 3 rounds, he was just on the back foot, getting dominated and going nowhere. I mean, on that point, Marriaga probably lasted longer than what he probably we expected of him. To be fair, given that he was running for the first couple of rounds, it's just fantastic. And as Donny says, you could just watch his footwork easily for a long time. He was stepping on Marriaga's lead foot. I think there was a bit of a step at Lomachenko did step on his foot a little bit for the first knockdown and got him on the run kind of thing. It's just fantastic variance in power as well. Like some of his shots look a bit tippy-tappy, as you've alluded to before, Steve, look a bit tippy-tappy, but then he turns it on and he really twists in with that left hook. We've seen him do it against Martinez, and he did it pretty much carbon copy last night with Marriaga, when he's against the ropes. You might think you're out of range, and then he clocked you with that left hook, and you're on the seat of your pants. Going forward, I just don't want him to be undone by chasing big names and moving up in weight too much. I think he's already two weights, 135 and 140. I think, although Andy says about the amateur kind of weight that he was fighting at, he could make it, but these guys are going to be significantly bigger than him. The likes of Mikey Garcia is going to be significantly bigger than Lomachenko if they were to fight. But it's just a great time. We're blessed, really, with the likes of Crawford, Lomachenko, Garcia, all in the same, conversation with each other. I can't see Gervonta Davis fight happening, but again, that's another fantastic, prospect at this stage. We really are blessed with some great fighters at the moment.
We've also got Gabe Lewis back on the court. Great to have you on with us, Gabe. You were a little critical of Lomachenko, I think, in his when you were talking last week in the preview. You wanted him to fight Rigondeaux. Were you happy with this spectacle? Where do you think he's going to go next?
Well, I mean, like I said last week, or at least I believe I said last week, I'm not really a fan of the guys that he's fighting, but it's kind of not really, like we've said already, his fault. It's one of those cases where the competition isn't there for the guy, and to make some of the bigger fights is going to be really difficult. There's that, and then I would like to see him go full tilt, go full steam ahead a little bit more. Marriaga couldn't hurt him last night. Before the fight started, I made a comment to a friend, and I had a feeling. I thought, you know what? I don't know if Marriaga can come forward a little bit, maybe he won't get steamrolled. That didn't happen. The guy looked phenomenal. I mean, how could you not have enjoyed what we saw last night? That was a beautiful display of boxing, and I enjoy it because it's not the standard jab, straight right hand, or in his case, jab, straight left. He gives you something a little bit more. He's got a very unique style, and that's what I enjoy about it. It's just the competition level. He's overmatching these guys. I thought, he did phenomenal. The only reason he got hit was because he was acting like a clown. If he would have been 100% going full steam ahead, he wouldn't have never been touched. He would have got the guy out in probably 3 rounds. But he kind of let him play a little bit, let him fight a little bit, and then when he started putting the pressure on for real, you saw the difference. So last night, very impressed. His footwork, like Don said, is, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's incredible. He looks like a dancer. Overall, I was impressed. I would like just to see more. I'd just like to see more of it. More top level competition. But then again, I mean, it's kind of the same thing that's got us into the point that we're at now with boxing, is that even fights that we consider to be top-notch fights are now looked at every time as a super fight. And so then it becomes an issue of if we'll ever actually get it done and get to see the fight take place. You know, I think it's just one of those things. Super fights have transitioned now to be more of every big fight. So every fight that people are really clamoring for between top-notch guys is now considered to be almost a super fight. So I think those kind of things stand in the way. Rigondeaux maybe the only guy that could challenge him, aside from Linares. But Linares, I just don't think Linares is going to keep him back long enough. It would be a good fight for a while it lasted, but I think eventually he would get to Linares. I don't know, nothing really to dislike about last night other than the fact that it just wasn't a great opponent. To be fair, though, Marriaga did some things well. He made a miss. He did land some punches. You know, for a guy that got pretty much shown up, I mean, he had some good spots there. I think Marriaga is he's going to have a world title before his time in the game is over. So I don't know if that really means anything to some people, but it's still a relatively rare feat. I mean, it's not everyone gets a world title, and I think he'll have one before he leaves. But I mean, really, he made Marriaga look like a much lower caliber guy than he is. I don't know. I was impressed. Totally impressed.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Gabe. Feel free to stay on the call as long as you wish. Rob, I believe you have something you wanted to add in there.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of ask Andy, well, all the lads really. We've kind of seen Lomachenko now at this stage, I mean, as long as any kind of star in the sport, because he's had a start on a network. So we've seen all his pro fights on a network, one network or the other. We've watching his career build up. So we see the same thing over and over, and we want to see him get tested. But I was just looking at one of the setback videos or one of them this morning, and some guy was in the back of the Freddie Roach clip. I don't even know who he was, but he made a good point. I thought when you fight Lomachenko with the height guard, that you're pretty much blinded because he's moving around either side of you can't see him. So I'm just wondering, like, what do people think it takes to beat him now? Because we saw him figure out Salido in the second half of the fight, and I think he'd evaporate him. I think Rigo, as good as Rigo is, and as big a fan of Rigo as I am, is too small for him. I don't think he could get up to 130. He's already fighting above his weight class, so to go up another 2 weights would be a big ask against possibly the best fighter in the world. So what kind of style beats him now? Like, are there the guys there who could beat him possibly?
I think it depends how he. I just muted any mood, Rob. I think I got a bit of feedback off you there, mate. But I've just I think the way to beat him would be to basically crowd him, get him to the ropes, work his body. I don't think he's got really a great inside game. He usually kind of try and, if you look at some of his kind of defensive moves, that he always seems to kind of dip to the right. Always kind of plans that the opponent's either going to come with a jab or a left hook. He doesn't fight many southpaws, but I just think it basically kind of try and get him in the inside, see if you can actually try and work him over and stuff. But it would probably take the bigger guys like Salido and that with his output. But again, athleticism-wise, it's the next week up. Sorry about that. But maybe see it up at lightweight. I just think if you look at the Garcia fight against Broner, a lot of people are kind of going a bit kind of top heavy with Broner fight because we'd heard after the weigh-in and stuff, I was going to weigh-in, Broner had to be helped up the stairs. That guy we said it last week, he was fighting, he was basically training to make weight. So Garcia basically picked him off. I don't think Garcia would actually be the one to do it, basically kind of crowd him like that. I think Lomachenko will show maybe a wee bit more respect. Just for basically how Mikey kind of throws his straight shots and stuff, but I don't think Mikey really works the body that much. And it was one thing I was kind of agreeing with Teddy Atlas a wee bit on there last night as well. I didn't think Lomachenko was working the body all that much. He always seemed to be kind of like headhunting, you know, where he kind of tries and brings down his lead hand by dragging down the guard and trying to whip in a hook and stuff. He was trying that quite a fair bit last night. It wasn't until he kind of worked. Not so much worked him out, but kind of like worked him over and stuff. He started then kind of throwing left hands at the body, and like he does mix in a few body shots, Lomachenko. But I like to see a wee bit more of it, especially try and get the right hook under the elbow. That's probably the only thing actually you can maybe. Well, maybe I can have a gripe with Lomachenko about is he's maybe no. Shall we say, is not so much aggressive, but you know what I mean? It just basically get in there, couple of hard shots and try to take the guy out. But that's not his play. He likes to kind of set it up and just basically kind of take you out that way. But I think it's going to be a guy really who's going to put the pressure on him. He needs to do it early, because if you let Lomachenko look at you for 4 or 5 rounds but not do much, he then starts figuring you out. A little bit like Floyd, picks his spots and starts upping his game kind of in the later half of the fight. So it needs to be someone who's willing to take a few shots, willing to go, grapple him with the ropes and stuff. Just make it dirty. A guy like maybe Berchelt, maybe Maura, probably 2 or 3 fights ago, maybe might have kind of forced the issue. But I think, as I say, I think Berchelt's probably the fight to make, because people want to see him go up to 135. Berchelt's a guy, massive dude for the weight. See where he's at, size-wise, and see how he handles it. If he handles that fight pretty well, I think he's in maybe ready for the move up. But
yeah, I don't know what you think, to Dave, but the thing is about Lomachenko, he's so active. Andy was talking about his inside game. Even when he's not throwing big shots inside, he's tap, tap, tap. He's always occupying you.
I think Andy's right. I think that is because we've already seen him beat in that fashion by Salido. I know he wasn't fully, he didn't have his sea legs under him. He wasn't fully acclimated to the pro game, but I think that's what's going to beat him. I mean, he's had tons of years of experience under his belt to that point, and Salido's dirty fighting and crowding really, really affected him. I think we're going to see a very competitive fight if somebody like Salido, but younger, big, strong, in his prime. I mean, right now I think he probably dispatches Salido fairly easily, but another guy like Salido, we'll have to wait for someone like that to come through the ranks. We haven't seen Berchelt fight that way in his past 2 fights. He just kind of boxed and it that way. But if Berchelt could do that, I think he would have the physical makeup. He's very strong. He's got a great gas tank. He's got a good chin. I think he could do that if he would add that wrinkle to his style. I don't know if he will do that. But he could actually give Lomachenko a fight if he has the right game plan.
Donny, you'd think it'd be someone who throws 9 or 10 punches to try and land one. I don't think the guys who are going to try and throw the odd pot shot, you throw, I throw, the type of Adrian Broner style isn't going to work. What about someone like a Jorge Linares? He's good at throwing with opponents. Do you think he could throw with Lomachenko?
Actually, Steve, I do think I said earlier Linares would be my preferred opponent at this point in time. But why don't you throw it to Big Russ, because I actually have to go at least temporarily.
No problem. We have Big Russ on the call. He has joined us through the medium of Hangouts. Russ, if you want to just unmute yourself. It's good to see in the week that we have Vladimir Klitschko retiring, Russ. We have Juan Manuel Marquez retiring. We've got Tim Bradley retiring. That we have someone like a Lomachenko who's going to step up and take on that superstar medium in the sport.
Yeah, I think that's good. But getting back to the Lomachenko, are these Eastern European, like Russian, Ukraine guys, are they that good because they have a long amateur career? What do you think? What do the chaps think to that?
Well, definitely so, Russ. I mean, Lomachenko went 371 or something ridiculous. He's got that amateur grounding.
396 and 1.
And he's only been, and the one he lost, he avenged it twice, and he had a damaged hand in that one.
And that was the one. That was what he did the same there last night against that Selimov, and the amateurs waved him into the corner to try and punch him.
The guy who beat him in his second fight as a pro, that's Salido, he came in 2.5 pound overweight, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, he's a bit of a rough and ready fighter, Salido, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and he admitted that he thought he got beat, so he'll learn a lot from that. But I think we're possibly seeing the greatest lightweight ever. I think he'll just stay at lightweight. He can't possibly get any bigger. He's too short, isn't he? So I think we could be seeing the new Duran, one of them.
No.
Don't you reckon? Because he don't sit body, Andy.
I love Lomachenko and I love Duran, but there's no comparison there. Far better inside fighter.
First time I came across Lomachenko. Sorry, go on. No, first time I came across him, Mick Hennessy after Taylor fight for us, he said we were going to be watching it. I said I'd watch it on telly. And 2009 Milan, and he said that all the promoters and that were all interested in Beterbiev and Lomachenko. Well, they both won gold, didn't they, that year? And you know how their careers have gone. Beterbiev's sort of stopped it with politics and injuries, and Lomachenko's just gone on from strength to strength, hasn't he?
Oh, well, Lomachenko might have gone from strength to strength, but Russ hasn't, because he seems to have fallen off the call. We've lost 2 or 3 of them.
Quite a
Yeah.
few of them have just dropped off there, eh?
We've lost Russ, we've lost Donny, we've lost Hater Dave Loback, and we've lost Adam Smith. We haven't lost you though, Rob Kelly. That's a good thing.
Does anyone think Tank gives him trouble for the first 2 rounds?
That's what I was wondering, you see. He has the speed to give him trouble, doesn't he? Has he got the nous, the experience to trap him?
I wonder, like, obviously he's had such a long
What happened there?
career with so many wins and that, like, that there hasn't been any change from being.
Hello? Did you get cut off there?
Yeah, we got you cut off there, Russ. Just give me a second. Rob's just saying something. I'll bring you back in 1 minute. Go ahead, Rob.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't know if there's any signs of him being a bit glass, like, but I wonder if he did get hit. Like, Marriaga caught him a couple of times last night. I know he was acting a maggot or whatever, like, but I just wonder, like, if Davis could clock him in the first 2 rounds, how he'd recover. I think he would. I think he's got enough to clown Davis, but I just think that Tank could be dangerous in the first couple of rounds for him.
Right, I did have a question on my iPhone, actually, from someone. I think it was from Simon Lucas. Right, Russ, can you hear me? Right.
You there, mate?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead, Russ. What do you want to say?
He keeps muting himself.
Not good. Is it?
Right, take a deep breath, Russ, and take the mute off. Okay?
That's him. That's him. By the way, oh fuck, he's done it again.
Hey up, mate. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now, Russ? Right, we shall endeavour to try and get Russ back on the call.
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, right.
Fire away.
Go on, Russ.
Hey there, it is Steve. Do I have to mute myself?
No,
go ahead, Russ. Tell me about Tony Bellew. Right, I think we'll move on. I don't know what's going on with Russ, but we seem to have lost him for momentarily, so we shall we'll carry on regardless. Right, Andy, you're still with me, aren't you?
Aye.
This is very well and truly the Nuthouse. Let me hit you with this question from Simon Lucas. He tweeted it to me in 5 parts earlier. He said, should VASYL Lomachenko be receiving more criticism than he is? What he did last night was the equivalent of Barcelona hammering Wolves and having the cheek to showboat whilst doing so. The $750,000 to $50,000 purse split says it all. We know that they struggle with opponents due to the dollars guaranteed in Lomachenko's contract, but that's their issue, and they surely need to lower the percentage share if they want to get the right opponents to show how great he is. And, says Simon, I do believe he is. Seeing him showboat last night just almost feels like a 2 fingers up at the fans kind of thing, like we're fucking stupid or something. It needs to be sorted out by the media and the fans. Scathing stuff, Andy. What do you think about that?
It's a lot of shite. It's a lot of shite because I'll put it to this way. See if what was that guy's name? Put the question in. Simon, mate. See if you were around and watched Ali. Well, I wasn't around watching Ali in that time, but you know, Ali gets lauded for what he did to Sonny Liston. Duran's done it, James Toney done it, Bernard Hopkins, Floyd Mayweather, all the great fighters have done that type of shit. If you're fighting an opponent who you believe is vastly superior to you, what do? You fucking mentally ruin them, and that's what he did. You know, at the end of the day, you're talking about purse splits and stuff and money and guaranteed contracts. Yeah, remember, Lomachenko has been the guy who's actually had to offer extra money to guys to fight him. How much was it Nicholas Walters was given? There was no kind of side offer made in that fight or something so that fight could happen because he was holding it for too long to get his guarantee and stuff. If people want to fight the guy, it's just a bit like Golovkin now. People didn't want to fight him. People are going to say, well, go up the lightweight and fight Flanagan, that fucking dab, that fucking horrible creature, man. What a fucking arsehole that is. But what's he going to do? Be beating fucking Flanagan? Flanagan's awful. He's got a weak WBO champ. That's what he is. He's a fucking 4th-tier champion in that division. The only fights that need to be happening for Lomachenko next, right? And I kind of agree with what people are saying here because we're seeing a fighter who's far better than anything we've seen in the lower weight divisions since Rigo turned pro. And people are getting pissed off with Rigo because he's got the fucking cheek to go out there and troll Lomachenko for a fight. You fucking beat up fucking guys who are fucking vastly superior to yourself as well. So stop fucking moaning. But Lomachenko, as I say, I understand he's fighting these guys who are vastly superior to him and stuff. So I kind of get what people are saying. The next, you kind of maybe needs to get another opponent now who is going to be a step up. So you're going to be looking at Rigo, but people are going to shite in that because Rigo's a bantamweight. That's what he is. He's not a super bantam. He's a bantamweight. Plus he's what, 45-year-old, whatever fucking age he is. He's had all these fights and stuff. He could be shot. What's the fucking point of seeing that fight? Make it if you want to make it. I mean, I'll be happy enough to see it.
I don't like the Rigo fight either.
Davis,
But
aye.
Andy, the way you make fights is by doing what Rigo does, is calling him out. You have to do that. You have to chase fights. You have to be aggressive on the mic. Like Golovkin should have done much more for Canelo.
Wish you'd done that about 5-6 years ago then, when Frampton and Quigg were still at the weights and that. But in the day, as I says, there's like 4 fighters out there for him that the main hardcore want to see him fight. The WBO rankings for super featherweight are fucking awful. So I really don't know what people really want. You know, people who defended Golovkin, who are maybe now saying Lomachenko needs to step up, are a bit hypocritical. But at the end of the day, is either he hangs about, defends his title and try to unify, or there's like one fight up at lightweight that needs to happen, because Linares is on some sort of kind of pension tour, right? Zlatan might be a decent opponent for him to test his water, but he's going to fucking clown him. Absolute fucking clown him.
For Lomachenko, you think? Zlatan for Lomachenko?
I think Lomachenko.
Oh, no. Don't think they could do that now after what Garcia did to Zlatan, could they? They couldn't,
No. Flanagan's no great, right? Easter's like massive for the weight. You could make that a fight, I suppose, but again, is he not a PBC fighter? So that's like Bob Arum. I don't know Bob Arum and PBC. I really don't know what people are expecting. I think Corrales is maybe ducked to fight as well as. So what do? You go to fucking fight the best ranked opponent, and people are going to be, the guy came up in weight there last night. Well, the guy's 30. You'd think maybe the step up in weight might have been a slight beneficial to him, because he's not cutting the extra 4 or 5 pounds to come down in weight. So and plus he was ranked at the weight as well. So I don't know what else people are wanting. But as I say, lightweight, we've said it before, slightly picking up a wee bit. I really don't know. There's Ivan Mendy, for example, up at lightweight. He's based in France now, right? The French have got a lot of money behind them, so he doesn't need to go anywhere. He can stay and fight in France for all he wants. So I just think his options are limited, because guys are wanting to get paid. It's like the Floyd Mayweather hangover. These guys are all wanting to get paid in the days, because they've not really paid their dues. But if they want to step in there with Lomachenko, I want to get paid. So what do? You got to try to get the split, or you can part of your money over to them. It's a fucking nightmare. It really is. I hate the politics side of the sport. The more you learn, the worse it fucking gets.
Go on, hater.
Well, I'll tell you what. Once these goddamn fans, like, we can't just say, oh, well, he's with PBC with Heyman, Lomachenko's with Arum, can't happen. Let's just not talk about that fight. Let's talk about that fight. Let's force that be the only fight we talk about. I don't like, just because Arum doesn't have quite as good names in 135, we have to just ignore the rest of the 135 division. No, or the 130 division, both of the divisions, I think we can talk about. As far as I think we're looking for opponents in both 135 and 130 for him. Talk about the best of the best. It doesn't matter who they're with, and the fans have to demand that fight. It doesn't matter if they're with Arum or Heyman or whatever. And we have to demand that of the fighter and the promoters. That's why I don't watch that shit last night, because I shouldn't say fuck Lomachenko, because I believe he has the talent to be truly a great fighter, maybe an all-time great. But Ali became an all-time great because of who he fought, not because of his showboating and looking good in fights against lesser opponents. Because he had fights with Foreman and Frazier and Ken Norton and other really great fighters. Do you think Ali's an all-time great because he jabbed Ernie Terrell yelling at him for 15 rounds? No. He's great because he took, and his longevity too. He took great fights and he took challenges. Lomachenko needs to do so even more, because he is not a heavyweight. He's a lightweight. He's already struggling to become a star at that weight. He needs to go all in, I think. In my opinion, I want to see him become successful. I want to see him do well, and I want to see him get the recognition he deserves for the level of talent he has. But the only way he's going to do that is by taking chances.
Smido, just before we move on, do you have any sympathy for the root of Simon's argument that maybe Bob Arum needs to reach into the purse strings a little bit more and try to change the split to try and persuade these guys? We know he's not fighting these guys, but maybe Bob Arum has to say, okay, maybe I need to give them a bit more money and maybe give Lomachenko a bit less money, if that's possible.
Yeah, in short, probably yes, because as we've got with a few fighters over the last few years, including Golovkin, is whereby people just simply don't want to fight them. The reward is not big enough for the risk at hand. So yeah, simple economics and promoting there would support that argument. Yeah.
Okay, if anyone has any Lomachenko questions, hit me up on Twitter and I shall ask them as the show proceeds. We're going to be talking a bit of Vladimir Klitschko later on, his retirement, and the other guys I mentioned as well, Tim Bradley. So if you want to think about your favourite Klitschko, Bradley, Juan Manuel Marquez moments, then please do so. Gabe, did you see anything in the undercard last night? We had Ray Beltran going in against Brian Vasquez. I think Barboza against Chicas was a decent fight. It wasn't great fare, to be honest. Did you catch any of it?
I did see a little bit of the Chicas fight, and I did get to catch most of the Beltran fight. I guess I'll go with Beltran because I saw a little bit more of that one. Of course, I don't know how much you guys are getting over there, but here in I think they mentioned it on the broadcast several times. Beltran's story is getting quite a bit of coverage because of his visa, immigration status, what have you, and that's a pretty hot topic here. So, from a personal standpoint, you know, someone like myself who has family that came to the United States from Mexico, and seeing the area that I live in is got a large Hispanic population. I can't help but root for the guy. I was glad to see him do well. I thought the draw score on that one, I believe it was a draw.
Yeah.
One of the scorecards.
Majority draw, yeah.
I thought he won by a couple rounds. I didn't think it was anything spectacular at all. I didn't think that he looked outstanding, but the guy that he was in with was actually giving him some trouble too. So it was more of a stylistic thing than anything. I mean, let's be honest, Beltran is a good fighter, but he's not going to be, pound for pound material at any point. But a solid fighter nonetheless. So I was eager to see that one and see Beltran do well. And I thought he did, as good as he could do considering the opponent. The opponent was just kind of a wiry, shifty guy. I thought it was a decent performance, not a great fight, but I don't know. I just really wasn't super impressed, but didn't fall asleep during it either.
Excellent stuff. Rob Kelly, did you see anything of Beltran against Brian Vasquez? One thing I will say, props to him, and I hope he gets his visa. A lot of people seem to be rooting for him, including Mario Lopez and Steve Kim on the 3 knockdown rule, Rob. But the elephant in the room seems to be the PED use,
Them two. Sick of them I am. Oh, my friend Peter Nelson. My friend Peter. Oh, come on. I'm just sick of the two of them. What we were saying, no, I didn't see the fight, but I like him. I like him. I think he give Lomachenko something different, just from even a physicality kind of thing. I think that might be the key to giving him someone giving him a good fight,
Anything to add there, Smid?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see Beltran giving Lomachenko too much problems because I just think Lomachenko's speed just outdoes him. Last night I did watch it. Beltran, although Vasquez missed the weight, Beltran looked significantly taller than him in the ring. He controlled it quite well. Vasquez never really got settled or never really got into a rhythm. He was burning lots of energy, basically, moving around on the back foot. And then, although Vasquez did his most success came at the end of the fight, the last 2 or 3 rounds. And particularly at the end of a couple of those rounds, he had Beltran in a little bit of trouble. I think that was probably because Beltran was tiring rather than Vasquez coming on strong, to be fair. I didn't score it as normal, but when I heard it was a majority decision with one a draw and a couple at 96-94, that was certainly a bit closer than I was expecting. But yeah, Beltran, they talked a lot in the commentary about his story that seems to have captured the imagination a little bit over there. I don't really care, to be honest, what his story is. He'll probably get another shot. Does he deserve one? I'm no expert on the PED situation, but for performances in the ring in today's age, he probably does deserve another title shot at lightweight.
Yeah, I mentioned the Barboza against Chika's fight was quite entertaining. Both guys were hurt at various points and both were dropped. That was a pretty decent scrap. Hey, to Dave, you didn't see the main event. Don't suppose you saw any of the undercard?
Didn't watch a second of it. Screw Top Rank.
Screw Top Rank says hey to Dave, no problem. Final word to you, Andy, is brief or as long as you fancy. Did you see anything this Maxim Dadashov who they showed on Box Nation? He was trying to go the VASYL Lomachenko route, but I thought he would have been better off using his height and reach advantages like a Victor Postol. He was quite a tall and lanky Ukrainian.
No, I went to my bed early doors, mate. The only fight I did catch was the Lomachenko fight. I did think Beltran was going to stop Vasquez, though, but then I realised, well, I read that he came up on overweight and stuff, so... as I say, it's been pretty much casual this weekend. I did watch a wee bit of the Singh fight. No a great lot. I've got it recorded, but Mauricio Herrera fight, I did watch that one actually. That was a decent scrap. I suppose it's one of the fights. I suppose that's a kind of trade fight. You know, guys. But I think Herrera's 36, 37 now. I think he done pretty well. I suppose in that. In early doors in that fight, he got a good jab going and stuff, but I just thought it was a fight went into the middle rounds. I wasn't really scoring it, but it was really close. And I think Karas was kind of like prolonged exchanges, kind of like wanting the body, kind of middle rounds and stuff. So, but I was a bit kind of surprised with Herrera actually, because even though Karas you probably say is a probably heavier puncher than that, Herrera's never been known as a puncher, but he was willing to kind of get in there and trade shots with him and stuff rather than stay at distance. So it was good to see actually. It was a decent fight because I suppose it's one last payday for Herrera, but the only thing I'm kind of worrying about actually as well is what was that? I think that was a welterweight, so I don't know if he's going to be next in line for some sort of kind of up and coming prospect, or maybe one I like defence for maybe Errol Spence or whatever, and that, or Jeff Horn if they kind of make the Pacquiao fight, because the guy's obviously seen better days and he was kind of fighting at his level there last night against a kind of semi-retired fighter. So
reimbursement.
Who was that jumping on? Was that Donny?
I don't know.
Seemed to be. Yeah, Vijender Singh or something. Didn't that end up on like Sony Max TV or something? I think he was fighting against Zulapaki Mamatayali or something. He won by unanimous decision. Does he look improved, any Andy?
Who? Singh?
Singh, yeah.
Nah, mate. Listen, see, if he was British, he wouldn't even be British champion, I don't think. The guy, he obviously, I've seen bits and bobs in the amateurs. I remember Anthony Fowler filming him, kind of hitting him on the ground again and stuff in the Commonwealths, but I've never really been impressed with the guy. I just think he's turned pro because he's got a decent following back home, make a bit of money and stuff, which is fair enough. But he's not going to be anything remotely near world level or even justifying a world title shot. I don't know if he's still with Frank actually, but I suppose Frank, if Frank can't get a world title shot, especially the WBO, I don't think you're going to get one, and especially he's not going to get one on merit. I don't think so. It might be a wee bit of novelty, I suppose. Maybe kind of get a world title fight to that kind of part of the world or whatever. I don't know if there's been one held there before, but it might be interesting enough. But he's no got the power. I just don't think he's still like an amateur kind of novice, I suppose. But I don't rate him at all. And as I said, we've spoken in the past. We got told about the Samir Khan fight potentially happening at 154. I don't know how he makes 154. No, that age new anyway, so they can fucking forget about that fight. It'd be massive numbers out there, I suppose.
Did anybody else get a chance to see Soto Karas? Wasn't it Soto Karas was fighting against Herrera, or Shabransky was on the undercard making his comeback? Did anybody else see that? Do you want to comment on it briefly before we move on? Don't think Gabe did. Hey to Dave. Hasn't watched boxing for a while. Donny's disappeared again. Okay, I think we shall move on then. There was one other thing I was going to mention. Let me just bring it up. Yeah, this heavyweight, Zhilei Zhang, I think he's 16-0 now, knocked out Nick Guivas in the first round of a Schedule 10. He's a Chinese heavyweight. I don't know whether Bob Arum has something to do with him or whether it's the other Chinese heavyweight, but he seems to be making waves anyway. He's a big old unit who can knock people out.
Whatever happened to Big Dong?
That's the one I was thinking of, Dave. I don't know.
That's not this guy, though.
I don't think so, no.
They should meet. They should fight. We'll decide who the best Chinese heavyweight is.
I seem to remember back in the day, the Japanese heavyweight champion was a Nigerian guy called Peter Okello. I'm not quite sure how he qualified, but he was knocking out all comers, as you would expect. Right, enough of all that type of nonsense. Let us move on. We're going to talk a bit of Vladimir Klitschko now. Rob Kelly, I'm going to bring you in first because the great man retired. He doesn't want any of that Anthony Joshua rematch. He doesn't want any of that part 2, says Johnny Nelson. Putting aside the fact that he's retired, what's your favourite Vladimir Klitschko moment, Rob? Have you been a fan or have you been a hater all these years? You with us there, Rob? Don't seem to have Rob at the moment. Smido, are you still with us? Give us your favourite Vladimir Klitschko moment.
Predicting that Tyson Fury would knock him down with a jab.
Yeah.
That was all around about, wasn't it?
I've predicted that Vladimir Klitschko could knock Tyson Fury down, not out, down with a jab. I got that one just a little bit wrong. In general, I was a Vladimir Klitschko hater along his career. Far too many shit defences against the likes of Leapai, etc. Penetta was another one, etc., etc. Tony Thompson, people like that in Germany. And I just fell in the trap a little bit because Sky went on a run of showing that, them fights, especially the ones I've just mentioned. I fell into the trap of just watching them. And I knew I shouldn't have been because I knew that they was going to be boring. And then I'd go around in the same circle again. Klitschko really has only gained the respect and fandom, if you like, from people on British shores through fighting British people, frankly. And, you know, obviously he comes across well. He talks pretty decent. He talks very good English, better than me, to be fair. Yeah, he's respectful, blah, 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 all of that. The AJ stuff was a bit of a love-in, too much mutual respect. I like a bit of hate. So yeah, generally I was a Klitschko hater. Pulev was probably his most exciting and best fight in my eyes. I did quite enjoy that and it definitely caught fire. But you could argue that only caught fire because Pulev landed a couple. And no one for a few years had done that too, Klitschko.
Yeah, Pulev came and brought it, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. To the extent that no one had for a few years previous to that. Vladimir Klitschko is without question the most expensive individual in my betting career, without any question. That Tyson Fury night was really, really, really bad. And then
it almost killed you for the sport for a good fucking age. Like
it did. And the other one I've got, there's one that's not worse financially. The Fury night financially was the worst I've ever had, but in the top 5 financially and the top 1 mentally was Klitschko to knock out Povetkin. Klitschko knocked him down 4 times, and failed to finish the job. It did cost me financially, but it really, really hurt me mentally. Maybe I should have learnt that lesson and not got involved on either man to win by KO that night when Tyson Fury beat him. But clearly, I'm not a man that learns from his lessons. And yeah, Vladimir Klitschko takes the title of the most expensive man in my life.
So would you say that worst night was from a stylistic point of view? He's had a few. Bryant Jennings wasn't great. I think he fought Mormek, didn't he? Was Leapai him as well? I'm getting mixed up between him and his brother.
Mormek. Mormek was okay. He got rid of Mormek, I think, in the end. Yeah, Leapai was bad. Penetta was bad. Yeah, there was some bad nights. I actually didn't like the Jennings fight either. I thought that was crap. Really, Jennings in that fight, although it wasn't widely talked about, he did show he was, Klitschko looked quite old in that fight, and the next fight was you know who. So yeah, that kind of was a few clues towards the Fury fight.
Gabe, I've thought of one that didn't get the pulse racing back in 2008 or 2009 in New York against Sultan Ibragimov. I believe it was at the end of that fight that HBO said they weren't going to be showing Klitschko for the foreseeable future before they came back into the party eventually.
Is that right? I can't recall. I do have to say, when you were asking for favorite Klitschko moments, that may have been one of the best. And then certainly the day he announced his retirement. I can't be completely critical of the guy. He did some good things. I think the reason that we're seeing the current crop of heavyweights that we see now is because of a guy like Klitschko. He forced everyone else to get back into shape. forced everyone to realize that they weren't going to be competitive if they were looking like slobs in the ring. So he did do something for us. I think that's one good thing. Let's be honest. The guy was boring as hell. He was boring to watch. He had no killer instinct. I know you were just talking about, or maybe it was someone who was talking just a minute ago. Sorry,
That was Adam Smido Smith, the betting guru.
Yes, I'm sorry, Adam. I wasn't really paying too much attention. I just caught the tail end. I had to get a drink of water. He just, the style that he fights is not a style that I've ever enjoyed. That European stand up straight, jab all day. The only person that I've ever seen that even resembles somewhat that style that I like would be Mikkel Kessler. So I don't know. Maybe it's a stylistic thing. He just never did anything for me. The guy was obviously good at what he did, so you can't take that away from him because the record and the number of title defenses and all that information speaks for itself. But I, for one, am certainly not ashamed or saddened by his leaving at this point.
Gabe, let me ask you this then. You said about his style. He obviously had the physical capabilities, the jab and the strength to be able to nullify his opponents. So he used that style to basically break people down and rack up defense after defense. Are you more disappointed from the fact that whenever you see him in the Pulev fight, whenever you see him in the Anthony Joshua fight, he showed he can go toe-to-toe. He can hurt people. He can finish them. Obviously not in Joshua eventually. But he showed a lot of balls against Joshua, and he showed a lot of what had been missing and lacking from his career. Is that what frustrates you more, the fact that he had that there all along?
I think so. He was a good champion, but he lacked that instinct that a lot of fighters have to do whatever necessary to get the job done and do it in a way that builds fans. And I know that I'm going to sound like a hypocritical son of a bitch from saying that because one of my favorites is Rigondeaux, and he does his style, and it's phenomenal. It works great for him, but he doesn't push to please the fans. So I can see whenever someone's listening, they're going to think, this guy, he's an asshole. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But to me, it was never a case of where you see Klitschko have that ability. He's got, like you said, the size, the power. He's quick enough. Everything he has, he can go in there and do this stuff. And most of the time, he's probably going to come out relatively unscathed if he just goes in and does the work and builds up to it. 6th, 7th round knockout, something like that. But he just stands outside and jabs. And he pumps a straight right hand once in a while, and then he holds them. Held people to death. He's cuddled more guys than he did hitting. I don't know. Just never was a big fan of him.
Hey to Dave Loback's on the call. It's always good to have Hey to Dave with us. He picked Tyson Fury to beat Vladimir Klitschko. Hey to Dave also very famously on this podcast once said that Viktor Postol would end up with a better career on a resume than Vladimir Klitschko. We know he doesn't mean this. This retirement this week has hit Hey to Dave hard. There's a tear in your eye, isn't there, Dave?
When did I say that he would? I said he potentially could. I think his skill set. I think Postol can do more things than Vlad. I think he's more versatile and probably has more punches in his arsenal. I don't think he will ever achieve what Vlad achieved, especially since he hasn't fought since Crawford schooled him, has he? I don't know. Forgot about Postol. But he could beat Danny Garcia. I have no doubt of that. Anyway, Vlad, favorite moment? It has to be the Tyson Fury loss because I picked it and I was so excited for Tyson Fury. So Fury has done nothing. It's sad. I mean, Russ was telling me in DM that he just feels the sport has treated Tyson so badly, and he feels like he's gotten screwed over in many ways. I don't really know. I am not in that camp, so I can't say. But maybe he just wants to be done. And I can respect that because who the hell would have ever thought that, well, besides me, who the hell would have ever thought Tyson Fury could be lineal champion back when he was punching himself in the face? So good for him. I mean, he's had a very good career for being a fat gypsy. But Vlad also really excited me with his last fight, and that was another loss for him. Also a great moment, not because he lost it, but because that was a great fight. And at least he went out on a high note in a very good fight. If he'd had that rematch, I think Joshua would have gotten rid of him sooner. So it's probably for the best that he's going out now. Wins for him, probably my favorite wins would be Hay and Povetkin. Terrible fights, horrible to watch. Vlad was dirty, laying on guys. Hay didn't want to fight. Povetkin was one-dimensional. But because of my intense dislike for David Hay and contempt for Fat Povetkin and his only skill at broiding, I'm still happy that both those guys got soundly beaten by Klitschko. So I can thank Vlad for that. And as far as out of the ring, he was a good guy. He made a very nice speech at Emanuel Stewart's funeral service. Seemed just like a proper gentleman. I still have suspicions that he and his brother were both on the roids. I mean, we know Vitaly got done for it. Was it in the amateurs or kickboxing, one or the other? So, I mean, just the size and shape of those guys was always a little suspicious to me. I think maybe when we saw Joshua Vlad, it might have been two Reuters going at it. But who knows? It's unproven. Can't really nail him for sure. Yeah, I'm not too upset about this retirement either. I think it's the right time. Very glad that someone was able to get to him before he got out, because I was afraid for years. This was back when I was, like, maybe 2000, like from basically 2009 to 2015. I was afraid that he was going to retire without taking that final loss, without passing the torch, and we'd be left with a heavyweight division of just fat people with no clear champion. Now we have, I mean, we don't have a clear champion right now, but we have a guy in Joshua who's beaten the long-standing champion, and we also have Fury. I don't know if he's coming back or not, so he still could be in a bit of a mess. But at least we have a division that is not stuck in the past and can move forward. So he took his losses, he passed the torch, and I'm glad for that.
Yeah, I want to bring Rob Kelly in soon if I can. He's just away from the mic at the moment, but obviously he'll have some good insight with the Manny Stewart thing, because I think he was quite close to that camp. Gabe's just fallen off. We'll try and get him, excuse me, back on again. Andy, hey to Dave, just mentioned something at the end that I was going to mention to you actually. Back in the day, people were decrying the Klitschko reign, the fact he was beating everyone, he held all the belts. They thought it was a stale, sort of apathetic time for the heavyweight division. And they thought whenever somebody eventually beat him, things would be a little more rosier in the garden. But Tyson Fury beat him, and it's just been a bit of a shit fest since. All the belts got fractured and splintered, and they're getting picked up again. Would you rather be back in the reign of Vladimir again, Andy? Or are you happy with the situation we have now?
I'm a bit split actually. At least if you had Vlad holding most of the belts, he never got a WBC title shot, which is a bloody shame. But at least there was order. We knew who the man was and where the lineage is. But people, and they're right in what they're saying. Actually, they say, how long can we hold Tyson Fury for the lineage? It really depends. A year, but back in the day, way back in the day, like Jack Dempsey when he was champ and that, he never defended the title for years, and he still classes the man. Got to lose it in the ring, boys. Got to lose it in the ring. Just on Klitschko, actually, I mean, you got to give the guy every props. I mean, when he was starting up, he was a steam train. He was a bit like AJ in a way. He was just coming in, he was throwing punches, just fucking knocking people out. Then Ross Purity came knocked him out. I think it was at the 10th, 11th round. And he picked it up again. I think he beat Schultz, Monty Barrett, Chris Bird. I think it was another one he beat as well. And you think to yourself, right, okay, he's picking up again. He picked up the WBO title, knocked out Franz Botha, Ray Mercer. Then Corey Sanders knocked him out in 2 rounds. And you're thinking to yourself, right, okay, he's not got the chin. Lamont Brewster, I think he went to Manny Stewart before the Brewster fight, I think, and absolutely gassed bad. I think he claimed he got drugged or whatever. And then the fight
do you put any credence in that, Andy? Because he thought at the time he had some kind of skin drug or something.
Nah, I don't know how it works, mate. I didn't really buy it, but after that fight, I think he fought, was it Devariel Williamson? And that was a horrible fight. That was, if you looked at that fight, you would have said to yourself, especially coming off the defeat against Brewster, if you watch that fight, you're saying to yourself, You know, you look at it. I think it was a technical decision. I think it was. You look
He
at
looked
that fight,
terrible, didn't he? He looked terrible.
what? After that fight, you wouldn't think he was the winner. Like he looked awful, and you think yourself. I think he got booed. It was like the Brigham fight. He got fucking booed.
That was shit.
It was, but then again, but after Williamson, he beat Sam Peter. He got dropped 3 times in that fight, and what did he do? He got up and he fought back. Got game his due.
He showed the Emmanuel Stewart training there, didn't he? That was when he became of age. I thought he showed he could hold. He showed he could show his experience. He really improved as a fighter that night.
That was really the start. I think his dominance at that point. I think at that point he kind of learned just about everything. You know, I think at that point he'd been working with Manny now for over about 18 months. Really in the physical peak yet, I don't think. You know, and then the run of knockouts he actually knocked out people. You know, the one punch that was always kind of overlooked by him was his left hook. He didn't really throw it that much, but see when he threw it with authority, I mean, some of the guys he knocked out, I remember he knocked out, was it Ray Austin? Or maybe Calvin Brock? It was one of the Yanks anyway, but he fucking triple left hook. It was like Roy Jones stuff. You know, and then you've got the stuff that goes against him as well as, you know, he was negative for a guy his size and that, you know, especially against Eddie Chambers. You know, again, that was a left hook knockout. But if you look at Eddie Chambers' fight, he was very cautious. Manny Stewart's in his ass, and that he says, "You better fucking stop him. You don't need another bullshit fucking decision victory here." So what does he do? He goes into the 12th round, knocks the guy out with a left hook, and I mean knocks him out fucking clean. It's just it's not so much Klitschko's fault because you had his brother as a WBC champ at that time as well. You had Hay kicking around. He beat Hay decisively. I mean, he beat him decisively. Other guys, it was all mandatory defense. He made every mandatory defense. He tried to get all the unification fights, tried to get all the belts. Finally became the man. Wasn't always exciting at times, but at the end of the day, it's all about winning. You know, it's like everything else in life. You know, if you want to win, you got to win by any means possible. It doesn't matter how good you look, how bad you look, as long as you win. And that's what he done. And it's just, you know, you think about it, you know, at age 40, 41, he gave like the supposed second coming of Ali, Norton and Foreman all morphed into one, the hardest fight of his career, and he's 41-year-old, and he gives Anthony Joshua the toughest fight of his fucking life, probably his career. I don't think AJ will have another fight like that again in his life, because there's nobody else as good and as skilled and as rounded as Klitschko, and you know, the experience told in that fight as well. It just showed you that the age caught up with him in the end. Just, you know, just didn't have it to basically finish the job. Tyson Fury, you know, mentally, I think he was in his head, camped out in his head, and just took a big shit big shit in there, and then fucking left. You know, so it's been a good career. First ballot Hall of Famer, no question about it. It's been quite a weird week having 3 legends retire actually in 1 week, but you know, it's changing the guard, and Klitschko was one of the last old guards, I suppose. And at the end of the day, he's walked out in his own terms. He's still got his health. He's got a young daughter now. He's got a fit wife. You know, just get in about her and enjoy your millions. You know, he's done it all. He says he'll be the first ballot Hall of Famer at Canastota, and he walks away with no shame. That's a guy who reinvented himself and made himself a Hall of Famer. So fair play to the guy.
Well, at least all the parts of his wife that you can see are still fit. And you've expressed doubt in the past about what the steel hammer has to her below decks.
Oh yeah, that's like a ripped out fireplace, like AJ did to Amir Khan's wife, you know.
Yeah, thanks very much. Rob Kelly, are you back with us? We haven't got Rob at the moment, but he is still here in spirit. Andy Patterson's on the call as well. Hey to Dave Loback, Adam Smith, me, Steve Wellings. The panellists are coming on and off like Tetris blocks at the moment, but we shall proceed. Don't forget, we've got the Bellew of the Week coming up later. We're going to be discussing Bradley and Juan Manuel Marquez's retirements as well, after we've had a few Twitter and Facebook questions. And go over to iTunes and leave us a review. 5-star review. Nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable for the month of August. Stick that review. We haven't had a few in a while, so go and leave a review for us if you can. A couple of questions coming in. Let's have a look. Who've we got? Hey to Dave Loback. Here's a good one for you from Eddie Kenners on Twitter. He said, how does Charlo get on against Triple G? So Charlo beat Jorge Sebastian Hyland last weekend. How does he get on against Triple G? Hey to Dave.
Well, the Hyland win doesn't mean much, does it? I mean, I think the guy was injured, wasn't he? His leg, and also he's Hyland. I saw him live I think in his fight prior to Charlo, fight a fat midget in Reading, PA. Nothing impressive. I guess the Macklin, a very well fated Macklin is his best win. So Hyland is not really saying much. Charlo is good though. GGG. It might be on the slide. The Canelo fight's going to tell us a lot. I think 2 years ago, I would say Golovkin probably has a bit of a war with him for maybe 3 rounds and then dispatches him. Right now, I mean, I give Charlo a chance. Charlo's solid, and both big hitters. I don't think either one would knock the other out early. I think they would both be respectful. Yeah, I think it might go the distance. I think Golovkin wins the decision, but it's a good fight.
We've never really seen Charlo get tagged, though, have we? We've never really seen Charlo get hurt or get tagged, man. We've got to say Golovkin's got to fucking knock him out.
Yeah, but Golovkin has been, like, I mean, we've seen Danny Jacobs get tagged, and we've figured this guy probably has some glass, and yet he was able to take Golovkin. But, well, for one thing, Golovkin was not particularly aggressive in that fight. For another, Jacobs took his power without much issue.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Right, Adam Smith, a question coming from Daniel Stone while we've been live tonight on Twitter. It's continuing along the Klitschko-Fury theme. Smido, he said, question for the pod. How disappointed are you, Adam, with Fury? And after the Klitschko fight, how much longer do you regard him as the man? So how much longer is the Fury now the man still, Adam, after all these retirements?
Well, Mr. Patterson is the lineage expert. But I mean, how long's it been now? So November 2015. So we're coming up to 2 full years of inactivity and serving a drugs ban. I don't really know. I mean, I can say that I'm not totally surprised in how Fury's career has gone since that win, given his lack of stable management, etc., or slightly unorthodox, let's say. He's got a promoter that is just a puppet, basically. He's got no real clear TV deal or promotional team around him. So I'm not too surprised, but it has gone on for quite a lot longer than what we was hoping for, really. In extension to the Klitschko conversation, in November 2015, we woke up on that Sunday morning, I think it was the 29th, and we was hoping, it was a new dawn for heavyweight boxing and was going to get, Wilder and Fury and Joshua. And until April, when Joshua fought Klitschko, all we'd got was absolute bullshit from like Spilker, Areola, Charles Martin, Eric Molina. It was just, we was worse. We was worse than, so people like me used to berate the Klitschko era and boring and mandatories and people we've never heard of. But what we got for 18 months until April this year was worse. Fury, he's going to have to come back. He's going to have to, because there's just too much money there. There's too much money in the Joshua and Fury fight, and I think Fury would be daft enough to take the Joshua fight straight off the bat, straight in with Joshua. Let's have it out. I think Andy will still class Fury as the man as long as he is this side of the age of 40 years old, to be honest.
Starting to kind of waver now, mate. I think he should be stripped there. I really do. I think because he's came out and he said he's retired a couple of times, and he then is back in the gym. I think because he's no fought since he's claimed that he's retired, and the fact there's the drug issue and that, I think we've got to accept that he should perhaps be stripped and he's no longer a lineal champion.
I mean, the problem we've got is with heavyweights. David A finished packed up when he was 32 or 33, if I'm right. Heavyweights now have until the age of 40 where they can be, and even beyond, but they can have until 40 where they're realistically relevant. Tyson Fury is actually younger than me. So Tyson Fury has got another 12 years of saying no or turning down 5, 10, 15 million to fight Joshua, Obviously, the longer it goes on and the more out of shape he gets, the more difficult it's going to be. But we do need him. The game does need him. And it would be fantastic if we could get Fury, Wilder, Joshua, Fury, and Wilder against Joshua. That little triangle there is fantastic. And then obviously new names will come over the next few years as well with some of the younger guys who are still unproven. So, I mean, the boxing is a better place with Tyson Fury in it, but I just think all the smoke and mirrors and the stuff that I listed earlier, it makes it really difficult, because even looking at Hughie Fury, he don't appear to have done anything wrong in comparison to Tyson. He's not said daft things in the media. Has he or has he not served a drugs ban? God knows what. But he's got very much a different persona to Tyson Fury. Yet we're 3 weeks away from supposedly fighting for the world heavyweight title in Manchester, and there's still a lot of us out there who don't think. I've still got question marks over that fight going ahead. They haven't sold any tickets. Can they see it going ahead? We just don't know. Is he going to be cleared by the British board? Has his drug ban now surpassed? Has he ever had a drugs ban? There's too many question marks for what is clearly two very, very talented individuals.
I don't know what the deal is, Smido. This is all hearsay, but I've heard that they've sold about 900 tickets at the moment, and someone else said that Hughie Fury doesn't have a British license.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Steve. I don't think he's got a British license, but I've said it numerous times. We need to wake up, given that is it going to be massively convenient that it's going to be exactly 2 years since Fury was last seen until his next fight? Is that a coincidence or not? We've got Hughie Fury's pulled out of fights left, right, and centre in different countries under different jurisdictions. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have a British boxing licence as we speak now, and I'm certainly not surprised that they've sold less than 1,000 tickets. I mean, that is taking the piss. I mean, so they are yet to sell 10% of the capacity of that arena. Wow.
Apparently.
Well, yeah, but Steve, we're not surprised though, because we've been here before. Who was Fury meant to fight at the MEN that got pulled? Was it
Vlad, wasn't it, in the rematch?
Yeah. Sorry, it was Vlad in that July, wasn't it? Yeah. So we're not surprised at all. They do try and stay. They say that they stay loyal to Mick Hennessy, but what does Mick Hennessy do? What has he done for Tyson Fury? They got the fight. They didn't have to do the promotion or the TV deal over in Germany. But what's he done? The team around him's falling to bits. I know Ben, one of our guys who comes on, has got a story in with that Asif Ali or whatever the guy's name is. It sounds like he's been binned off. It's a mess. It's a complete mess.
Yeah, I think, Smido, just finally on that point, if no matter what happens with the Fury-Parker fight, I think that the Furies are going to go their own way. I think they're going to be splitting from Mick, because he's a busted flush, isn't he, Mick, these days?
Yeah, it's a shame, but, from time to time, Mick don't help himself. We've seen the likes of Cyclone push on with this Channel 5 stuff, and they've done a decent job of it, getting a matchroom fighter to fight on Channel 5 prime time is a political boxing politics achievement. Mick Hennessy has had some good fights on Channel 5. He had the Cruiserweight series that was pretty good a while back, but it just don't seem to be pushing on. He's just not helping himself.
We wondered, not that I want to keep this going, Smitho, but I was just thinking to myself, we wondered whenever Mick got binned from BBC, and we were like, oh, that was a shame, he was doing well. Then he got binned from Channel 5, and we were like, oh, that was a shame, he was doing well. Seems to be a common denominator with Mick, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to eat himself into oblivion soon anyway. Have you seen the size of him?
Do you think he's too fat for boxing?
Yeah, I think him and Tyson might be having some sort of side bet, so you can be the most out of shape.
I have to sadly endorse everything Adam has said. I'm just so fed up with the politics of it. It gets to the point where I wish Tyson was with Eddie, just so we could see him fight.
I don't think he would, but then you never know. Right, Donnie's back with us. Donnie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly, Donnie. Oh, bit of feedback there.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Right, let me just check.
No, there's feedback off you, Donnie.
Yeah, but I'm moving into a better area. Go ahead.
Right, okay then. Let's see if I can get this question. It seems to be okay now. Oh, Donnie's muted himself. I think I've upset him, Andy.
No. I muted myself to let you ask the question.
Okay, you mute yourself. Right, Donnie's muted. I shall ask the question. From John Swan, Donnie. Some people, wrongly in my opinion, use Arturo Gatti as a gauge for eligibility for the Hall of Fame, saying that Broner has achieved more. But isn't Gatti's 4 Fight of the Years worth far more to the sport than Broner's shit forgettable paper titles?
Of course it is. I mean, the thing is that the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is notoriously the most rigorous and most evaluative Hall of Fame criteria, really in all of sports. I mean, people, baseball writers. I mean, they're just, they're real pricks. You know what I mean? About statistics, about so many things or whatever. And for instance, Jim Rice of the Boston Red Sox got in, and a lot of people said that he got in because when he came up at that particular time, the press was really brutal to him because Boston was considered to be a very at least in the early '70s, was considered to be a city that wasn't very kind to African Americans.
It still is. It's fucking racist as fuck.
Yeah, and so they gave him a really hard time, and some people said that what it was that it was all the Boston press or whatever that was sort of apologizing to him retrospectively by voting him to the Hall of Fame because his statistics weren't really up to par with everybody else, but the right thing to do because he was a great player. Credit. And so, all the time there's always like exceptions to the rule when it comes to halls of fame, excuse me. I feel like Arturo Gatti is the exception to that rule. He was an all-action fighter of the year. Watching him wasn't, in terms of the pedigree and the world titles and the opponents faced or whatever. But the thing is that when people watched Arturo Gatti, they felt alive. They felt something deep and emotional, and he went out in and out with a and the exception to the rule. So I think that when people try to use him as
Donnie, you're breaking up, mate.
Whenever people use Gotti as a barometer as to whether or not anybody belongs in the Hall of Fame, I think that that's mistaken. That he's just sort of an exception to a rule, and in general, we should apply the normal rules or whatever, and just recognize that Gotti is an exception to it because people like him.
Thanks, Donnie. Not Hall of Fame worthy in your opinion, Andy?
No, it's a Hall of Fame, not the Hall of fucking popularity. I know he was in some quality wars and stuff, but I just don't think he's got the. I think to get into the Hall of Fame, you've got to have at least a bit of longevity, some good wins on there. He's got the 3 fights in Mickey Ward, which, in my opinion, is an overrated trilogy. First fight was tremendous. The other 2 fights had some good moments in it and stuff, but anytime he stepped up in class, he got outclassed. De La Hoya basically kicked his ass. Ivan Robinson, I think he maybe beat him twice. I think Angel Manfredi stopped him. I remember. Donnie, your fucking sound's fucking up, mate. And just keep yourself muted now. And obviously, we see what Floyd done to him. Absolutely fucking dominated him. And then obviously, the Vladimir Gomez fight still defeats that. He was way past his prime by that point. But he's there because this is going to sound bad, but this is my opinion, right? He's there because he was all action, hung his balls out in the line, okay? But he's also there as a sympathy vote because he's no longer wears. That is my opinion. Because he simply hung his balls out in the line in they 3 fights and a couple other fights and stuff. Jesse James Leha fight, that was pretty brutal. But, and the Rallies fight as well. But I just think that is enough for me to get you into the Hall of Fame. You've got to be some substance behind it. Like a legit world championship. Like he won a vacant title against Gianlanco Branco. I think he's still even fighting it to this day, actually, a vacant title before Floyd takes it off him and stuff. I just think, he's not overrated and that type of thing, but I just don't think he's Hall of Fame worthy. Just simple pure fact is because he'd been in a few wars and he died early. That's purely it.
What about the question itself? From John Swan, he was saying that the fact that Gatti has got in means that people are using that as a yardstick for themselves getting in, like bullshit Brony. I'm a 4-weight world champion.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I've not got the names. If you give me the list of names who the fighters who are in there, I could probably pick out quite a few who shouldn't be in there. I know Barry McGuigan gets a fair bit of shit for the fact that he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I was just going to say that too. Like I said, though, McGuigan was there because he represented something that was bigger than boxing. So he got in. God bless him for that. Gotti got in because he was an incredible action fighter. He did die young. You know, everybody was very sorry about it. These guys are the exceptions to the rule, and that like they shouldn't be the barometer for entrance to the Hall of Fame.
I just don't understand why people get so uptight about the Hall of Fame. It's as my stance has always been, it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of ATGs or the Hall of only elite fighters. It's the Hall of Fame. Was Gatti fucking famous? Yeah, he was. He was probably one of the most top 10 famous fighters from the past era. Fucking Hall of Fame, because it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of ATGs, not the Hall of Elites. Same with Barry McGuigan. He's not never an elite fighter, but he's freaking famous, so he goes in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't. I mean, we know intrinsically, and we can debate, of course, as we do on forums in this podcast, over who the greatest fighters were and who deserves to be classified as the great. The Hall of Fame isn't for that, in my opinion. I think it's to recognize for their people for their contributions to the sport, whether they were an elite fighter or not. And I mean, that's why Sylvester Stallone is in there as well. Teddy Atlas is probably going to end up in there.
Well, Stallone's in there as a for observers. I think it's not as a fighter, but
well, obviously, yeah. But he's still in there as somebody who contributed something to the sport in a famous way. It was the same thing Gatti did. It doesn't matter if he didn't necessarily.
You can say that about anybody, though. I mean, Michael Buffer's in the Hall of Fame. Like, you know, Jimmy Lennon Jr. is in the Hall of Fame. Promoters in the Hall. I mean, yeah. I mean, of course, you can, you know, nitpick about, you know, people who are in the Hall of Fame in other categories. You know, when we're talking about the fighter category, though, you know, like I said, I think that Gotti and McGuigan are guys who people have a particular emotional attachment to. And the fact that they're in there or whatever does not necessarily, in my opinion, negate the value of what it means to be a Hall of Famer. It just means that these guys are a particular exception to the rule, and everybody else has to apply by those rules unless they themselves constitute an exemption, like a Gotti or a McGuigan.
Unless they become really friggin' famous.
Pretty much.
Right, okay, we'll move on, Donny. It's great to have you on, Donny. We are getting a bit of feedback off you, so I'm not sure if conversationally we'll get to...
Wait, how bad is it?
It's bad. Whenever you open up your mic, we're getting response when we talk.
Fuck, yeah, I'm sorry. Where I am or whatever, it's just that people who control the Wi-Fi, whatever, I can't seem to get the password, so I'm on cellular reception. So you know what? I think I better just bow out, guys. I'm really sorry. I'll continue to listen. I can hear you guys all right, but I think I'm going to bow out. Sorry.
No worries, Donny. Thanks for being on the way.
Yep.
Cheers, Donny.
Donny Baseball there, going on a sad end, but you've got to cut them, unfortunately. Right, Adam Smith, we're getting towards the end of the podcast now. We were talking about Hall of Fame there, and Craig Mastro has thrown a question in. With Marquez, Bradley, Vlad, and Fury all retired in the last few weeks, who else do you think will be retired by the end of the year, Smido? Conor McGregor, maybe?
Floyd.
Yeah, Floyd. That's a good question.
Keith Thurman. He's pretty much retired now anyway.
Paul Smith. I mean, people who I want to see retired is a totally different thing to people who I think will be retired.
Jimmy Cox when he gets knocked out of George Groves.
Bramer, maybe. That's an honest one. Could be Bramer. Lebedev, Hay.
Luke Campbell when he gets destroyed off Linares.
No, Andy, I've got some really, really silly news. I think Luke Campbell will beat Linares.
Oh, fancy a wee bet on that one day?
I wouldn't
recommend betting that one.
I will be having a bet, I think. I've not seen the odds actually, but
just give me the money you're going to bet on it, mate. It's a waste of time.
No, well, we'll see. I don't know. Victor Ortiz. I don't know. I mean, a list of people I want to see retired: George Groves, Tony Bellew, Paul Smith, Rigondo. He can just retire. He's an irrelevance now. I don't know, Steve. I'm getting a bit lost.
Don't worry, Smido, we shall rescue you. Before we move on to the final question to you, Andy, I'm just going to read out a comment. I was going to ask it to Rob, but I think he's busy putting his wee one to bed at the moment, which is fine. It's from Kieran Shalou. He said, for the Twitter tonight, did anyone else notice the acne all over Katie Taylor's face during the interview after her win last weekend? I know a boxing coach who is very suspicious of her based on how her face, in particular her jawline, has gotten much bigger over the years. Made me think looking at that interview last weekend. Great show as well, says Kieran. Katie Taylor's on the juice. I'm not really sure about that, but another person has mentioned something similar. So, I mean, I don't know. Who isn't on the juice these days?
It's sort of not really something you normally think of, but there is precedent. Chris Cyborg was done for juicing, and there have been other women in the UFC, I know at least, that have been that have failed drug tests and served suspensions.
But she looks like a man, for fuck's sake, that Cyborg.
Yeah, she does.
Fucking
and sounds like one.
Sound like a doorstep, that one. To be honest, I never saw it, mate. You know what happened to me last week? I never dried out for Belfast until at least fucking Wednesday. I didn't get appetite back.
You were rough as hell, Andy, man. You were sweating like Billy Joe Saunders in the spelling competition.
Fucking, that was bad. That was a bad way. But Katie Taylor, I said I never saw her fight last week. I never saw the interview and that. You know, it's all saying if it doesn't pass the eye test, then chances are that they're doping. If you don't cheat, you don't win. You know, it's basically, you know, well, I suppose Jason Chuck will be happy to hear this. I'll mention Jason Gatlin, right? It's just to kind of let me shut him up. But Gatlin won the 100 meters last night, I think. Right, this is a 2-time drugs cheat, I think. And he's, you know, beating you, and he got caught, and he's beating Usain Bolt. You know, so he's obviously getting the lasting effects off that EPO or the testosterone that he was taking and stuff. And he was just stupid enough to get caught. Track and field is a wash with fucking PEDs, and he gets caught with it. But it wouldn't surprise me any way, shape, or form and stuff. You know, someone somewhere, as you know, everybody's taking supplements for something. You know, for like iron deficiencies or, you know, omega-3, you know, that type of stuff. You know, everybody's popping something. Everybody's fucking taking some sort of protein shake. It might inadvertently get laced with something. You just never know. So it's probably kind of. I'm not going to say it's everybody's at it, but I think the vast majority of them have got to be taking something, because you think about a fighter. You know, I don't know about the techniques nowadays and stuff, but you know, some fighters would go into the gym 2-3 times a day and train. How the fuck is that good for? How can you go in there for like 3 times a day, maybe train for like an hour and a half, 2 hours each time? There's 6 hours a day, say you're training full pelt. How the fuck are you going to recover for that? You know, you know yourself, just like, you know, I don't know if you're active or anything like that, but if you're running about, you know, you might feel it and stuff. So how are these boxers fucking feeling after like a 6-hour session over the course of a day and that? How they're recovering? You know, I don't think they're taking drugs to, you know, basically make themselves bigger. I think they might just be taking drugs to get themselves fucking better, just like, you know, recover a lot faster, because, you know, they're beasting themselves in the gym.
I've often said that the great benefit of enhancing drugs isn't necessarily that it makes you better. It's just that it helps you recover faster. You can train that much harder in the gym the next day and the day after that, right? You know, I mean, if you look at some of the things that people have said about.
I thought we'd lost you, Donny.
Still bad, huh?
You were just going a bit robotic. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I said about Pacquiao and Mayweather in the gym. It's just that they're like totally amazed by the stamina that they have. They're like, how does Floyd run, you know, all of these miles or whatever after he's done these wind sprints, after he's done, you know, all these weights, or after he's done 10 hours of sparring.
You're break up again, Donny. Donny, it's shite, mate. Donny, your signal's shite, mate, honestly. I can't listen to it anymore, it's painful.
For all of our Patreon listeners, question and answer session with Donny Baseball this Tuesday evening at 8 o'clock. Get on that to all of our Patreon subscribers. Donny Baseball.
Bitcoin.
Just $2 a month for Patreon with Donny.
I just so desperately wanted to be on for the value of the week because of fucking Khan. Oh man, I wanted to be on for that shit. But all right, I'll just listen in enjoyment. Have a good night.
Thanks, Donny.
Cheers, Donald.
There's Donny Baseball there, everybody off the call. He'll be back in about 2 minutes probably.
He'll come out of retirement again.
Yeah, Rob Kelly's come out of the retirement. Rob, do you want to say a brief word on Vladimir Klitschko's retirement and the Manuel Stewart connection?
Yeah, I was up there just checking for AJ again, but I couldn't catch him. Couldn't catch him this time.
Listen, mate, you okay when he's been there? Your missus is lying there like a fucking badly packed kebab.
As if she's not a fucking head. Anyway, what you call it?
By the way,
I'm sure to that. Holy shit.
Would you still eat that? Would you still eat that kebab though?
Yo, chill. No, listen. What can you say about the guy? I think one of the most kind of highest paid compliments you could give him was one that I heard Nazim Richardson give him when you say that when he had his vulnerabilities with his chin, that how well he was able to box to over the rest of his career to pretty much negate that every time he fought. You know what I mean? It wasn't. It took Fury. Fury didn't knock him out. It took Fury to outpoint him and outthink him to defeat him eventually. But he was so good at negating danger, using his jab, and he's up there. I don't know if he's up there with the greatest heavyweights of all time, but of his era, it definitely belonged to him. You know what I mean? So, and Manny, I think, brought the best out in him, and Manny at times, Manny was a knockout, a lover in the knockout. Wanted to see guys finish off. I think if there's any criticism of him over the time, maybe it's that he didn't get guys out of there, or maybe the guys didn't bring it out of him to feel like he wanted to get it out of there. He remained cautious, and maybe that goes against him. But I mean, in terms of results and everything, and the length of his career and the title defenses, the guy was great inside and outside the ring. I remember Andy Lee talking about. They asked him one time any fighter who he'd want to replicate in and out of the ring, and he said Vladimir, like, just because the way he carries himself and all that, like. So yeah, no, a good guy. Sad to see him go out like that against AJ. I'm still raging over that, but I'm team AJ these days.
He was the consummate professional, wasn't he, Rob? I remember talking to Dillian White before White was over fighting on one of the Frampton undercards, and he said that before he even starts sparring or anything in camp, Klitschko stands for about 45 minutes to an hour in the ring just doing footwork, just side to side, step, just getting his footwork and balance down. Yeah,
and I think like even in his preparation for the last fight with AJ, you can tell he put the work in just to kind of get over the rounds that he did and put in the performance that he did to get back up. He was obviously extremely fit. And I think I still believe if he hadn't had that period of inactivity, then there's a different result in that fight. So I am kind of sad to see him go out like that, but in a way, it's probably one of his best performances, one of his most memorable performances, and came within a hair to going out in real style. So, but he's had a great career, and Father Time catches up with everybody. You know what I mean? So.
Excellent stuff, Rob. Right, final Twitter question is going to you, Adam Smith. It's come from Boxing Tip on Twitter. He says, can you make one fight in each weight class, Smido, which doesn't include any of the world champions? So which fights would you make in each weight class that doesn't include any of the world champions? Let's start off at heavyweight. You can skip weights if you want to.
I don't even know what weight class Lomachenko fought at last night. I've got no chance at this question.
What about you, Hater Dave? Do you want to have a go at this one?
What's the question?
Right, let me have a go. Right,
go on.
Right, so in the heavyweights, right, what could we do here?
What's the question?
It's one fight in each weight class that you would like to make between two guys who aren't world champions. So in the heavyweight weight class, Smido, we've got Luis Ortiz as the world champion.
And I'm going to go for Dubois against the one that Eddie Hearn's got, that big lad that Hearn's got at heavyweight. What's his name? Who signed with AJ? Who's AJ looking after?
Oh, Akole.
Yeah, is he not a heavyweight?
No, he's a cruiserweight.
Oh well, I fucked that up already.
Smido's off to a good start here, everybody.
Right, get someone else on it.
Right, Andy, give me your heavyweight fight. Then we'll go through the traditional weights. Heavyweight fight between two non-world title holders.
Two non-world title holders, probably Big Dom Brazil against Stavern.
You want to see Stavern again?
No, I don't want to see Stavern.
Well, I just think well, okay. What about Big Dom against Dillian White?
Oh, okay, I could live with that.
What about Charles Martin?
No, fuck that dude, man. I see. Who was the other one that made a return there recently? Was it Charles Martin or somebody else? It was Charles Martin. It was him.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Right, I'm going to throw one in at light heavyweight. What about Artur Beterbiev against Alexander Gvozdyk?
Yes.
Oh yes, Steve. I'm getting a semi out of thought.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're 6.
Right. What about the Russian Hammer against someone, because he's not got a title, has he?
oh. What about Maxim Vlasov against the Russian Hammer?
Yeah.
Good fight, but he's in that tournament no way. But that's a decent fight, Maxim Vlasov.
Okay.
Battle Jack versus Beterbiev, Beterbiev. That'd be a good fight.
Tai Beatty, I like to see Tai Beatty fight some maybe a cruiserweight Andrew Tai Beatty against the French guy. Is it Arzan? Is it Golaramarian or something like that? His name is.
I'll take your word for that one.
Isn't Vlasov coming off wrecking Chakiev?
Yeah, I knew. No, was it him? Was that Duradolo? I know Vlasov had a fight in Spain a couple of months back.
Here, what about this one at super middleweight? Vijender Singh against Paul Smith Jr.
Yes. Take it now.
Vijender Singh's ranked with the WBO, not surprisingly, but
Sergey Derevchenko at middleweight against Lemieux.
Oh yes, that would be a good one.
I
Or
like to see
Danny
that
Jacobs.
one. Danny
Yeah,
Jacobs but I'm in either two of them. I didn't really pay a lot of attention to light middleweight. We've obviously got the rematch with Williams and Smith coming up, so that's one thing.
it's crap, mate. Like middleweight.
It's not really all that thick at all. And there's not really anything I really want to see. I mean, Polish fighter, obviously, but kind of Islam. He's another one that's he's not really kicked on for the amateurs and that. And you got Eric Lubin kicking the boot there for a WBC title shot, so he might.
Welterweight, there's loads because Danny Garcia's not a champion, Broner's not, Sean Porter's not, Pacquiao's not actually. So yeah, there's a lot to be made at
I think we might be seeing Garcia Porter.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Amir Khan is not a champion.
Amir Khan's a prick.
Jamie Conlon against Rex Zhao. That's just pure violence. Maybe Gonzalez against Estrada because they haven't got any titles at super flyweight just now. So that rematch.
By the way, that super fly night in California.
Yeah, that's good.
The stuff dreams are made of it. That is brilliant.
What weight are we at now?
We're at super lightweight.
Well, we're kind of mixing in the weights. I haven't done it super flyweight there. Sorry.
That's okay.
Super bantam. Oh, what about bantamweight? What we got at bantamweight?
You got your. So we're going from the south now. I don't know. Maybe Haskins Butler. They was looking at making that one.
Yeah, they were actually. Aye. Solis is getting too old now. Payano's still kicking around a bit, but he's never really pushed on. Omar Narvaez, my fucking god, Narvaez up at bantamweight.
Is that the one that
Argentinian?
Yeah.
That's the one Donaire went 12 against him.
Yeah, but I'm sure it was Inoue knocked him out for super flyweight title that he holds at the minute.
I think.
Aye. Featherweight's got to be some fights kicking around a bit here. So we got Frampton against Quigg. Nah, fuck that. I couldn't go through that shit again, honestly.
Hey, what about this one? What about
Mark McZio.
What about Denis Shafikov against Ray Beltran?
Aye. Beltran's done though, eh?
I think Shafikov would beat him pretty soundly.
Be a good fight though, I think.
No, I think Shafikov's got a few miles on the clock, hasn't he?
I used to see Kirill Relic get another chance at what is he, elite welterweight? But
Indongo. Wait, is Indongo a champ now?
He's undisputed title.
Is Indongo a champ? He's fighting the United Nations next week.
Undisputed.
Well, I know he's fighting Crawford, but I mean, it's hard to keep track of these belts because it's hard to fathom that Ricky Burns actually held a belt. I mean, how ridiculous!
Yeah. Listen to this. I've just pulled up the IBF rankings here, right? Guess who's ranked 5th at welterweight? Luis Collazo.
Oh my god.
Luis motherfucking Collazo.
What about Quigg against Josh Warrington? Would anybody be averse to
Who's
seeing
number
that?
6? Victor Ortiz.
For flip's sake.
What was that fight?
Quigg against Josh Warrington.
I suppose domestic dust-up, I suppose. You know what the kind of the Billy Brits are like. They want to see these type of fights. So I suppose Leeds would want to see it before I did, actually.
Right, let's move on. I'm going to have a brief discussion about Timothy Bradley's career. Who've we got? Rob Kelly, let's bring you in on this one. I remember Timothy Bradley, who's retired this week, coming in against Junior Witter in 2008. I'd seen him before.
I was there.
Oh, Smido was there, Rob Kelly. I'd seen him against Miguel Vasquez in the fight before, and he was a rough and tough customer, this Bradley. Liked to throw the head in, but he got the job done against Junior Witter, and he went on a pretty decent run after that against Edna Cherry, picking up titles against Kendall Holt, beat Lamont Peterson, Devon Alexander. Don't want to do just a Bockrek read off, but I mean, the names are there. Joel Casamayor, probably a little bit too high in weight at that point. The robbery against Pacquiao, and then the fantastic fight against Provodnikov, Juan Manuel Marquez. What are your thoughts about Rob Kelly? Rob Kelly? No. What are your thoughts about Timothy Bradley, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're gonna look back always and see that the one fighter that he didn't really get the fight that was there for him was Floyd, and that he basically gave up the opportunity for that.
Can as well.
And Can. Gave up the opportunity for the Mayweather fight when he renewed his contract with Bob Arum, and he pretty much knew he was going to get the money fight or whatever with Pacquiao, and that was it. But he a great competitor, beating Junior Witter. Junior Witter was a good fighter. Like, beat Devon Alexander when he was on a hot streak, even though it was a horrible fight. Went in there with Provodnikov. What was I going to say? Yeah, went in there with Provodnikov, Pacquiao, you know what I mean, Marquez. So, fought great fighters. I think he has a career he can be proud of. Wasn't quite good enough to beat Pacquiao on any occasion, but no shame in that. Pacquiao was the number 2 welterweight, probably one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and beating a lot of great fighters. So no shame that he couldn't get there with Pacquiao. He was competitive in that first fight with him. I thought maybe it was a 7-5 to Manny Pacquiao, and the rest of the fights, you know, he kind of showed the difference in skill. But yeah, no, I think he was a top guy for 147.
It's a pity he didn't take that Khan fight, because at the time I know he was trying to preserve that O for the Pacquiao fight, and Khan was, I think, coming off the Maidana fight, and then Judah, he was looking pretty sharp. He was looking like it was going to be a 50-50 fight, but then we saw like we saw Bradley take Joel Casamayor, who was on weed and too high in weight, and it was a crap fight. And Khan, meanwhile, went and fought Peterson. And if you watch that Peterson fight and imagine Tim Bradley's in there with Khan, Tim Bradley would have kicked his ass. And then he would have been the true man at 140. So that would have been a good legacy builder for him if he had taken that Khan fight, I think. I think he would have won that fight and added a lot to his value.
Adam, against Brandon Rios, I thought Bradley looked pretty damn good, but then he obviously suffered against Pacquiao, got knocked down a couple of times. He was starting to slur his words. People were noticing during his commentary. Do you think it's the right decision for him to pack it up now? He must have made a few quid.
I don't think he's made as much as what he could have done. I don't really buy into the slurring of words bit. I think he could have got a couple more paydays in him. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know. Has he been carrying injuries? Has the opportunities just not presented themselves? Is he getting paid handsomely to commentate? I think he was a pretty good commentator from what I've heard so far. That Provodnikov fight took a lot out of him, though. That was a fantastic fight. He says that he fought concussed for most of the fight. I think it was after the first or second round. The last round, God knows how he made it through that last round, to be honest. That was definitely his most entertaining fights. He's had some ugly fights as well with the likes of Devon Alexander. The Witter fight was particularly ugly, and predictably so. I'll always remember the Brandon Rios fight because that's when Shep took a massive, massive L from me because he said that me picking Bradley to win by KO was the worst, but the most horrendous call he'd ever seen. So that was good. I mean, what was it? What was the Marquez fight? He fought Marquez, yeah.
Yeah, schooled him.
Yeah,
that was a good. I enjoyed that. Really
split decision victory too. That was bullshit.
That was probably one of his best performances. I think how many times did he fight Pacquiao? Twice. I think
3 times.
3 times. I think the first fight where Bradley won, although it was highly controversial, I thought that was closer than it wasn't. I didn't think it was as controversial as the reaction suggested, if you see what I mean.
It was bad.
It wasn't a 10-2 fight though. Like I think Letterman had it 10 rounds to 2.
I watched it live. I had it 118, 110. See, when I watched it back, and I had it on mute, and I tried to score everything for Bradley. The closest I could get it was 116, 112.
So what happened in the second fight, to jog my memory?
He got fucking schooled.
So why did they have a third fight?
It was just easier to make. 1-on-1.
There wasn't it for the rubber match? Yeah?
Exactly, 1-on-1. So you want to get a definitive winner, you know.
Yeah, no fair.
I'm like you, Smitho. I can't remember a thing about any of the three of them.
I can't. I can remember the first, but yeah, but Pacquiao had a lot of multiple fight rivalries that I struggle to put in order, etc. But no, how old is Bradley?
He's about, I would say, 33, 34.
Let me have a look.
1983.
83, so he's a bit younger than us, Andy. 33, yeah.
Yeah.
He's 34 at the end of the month. Sorry, Smitho.
I'm just surprised, really, to be honest, that he has called it a day at this stage. I just am a little bit, but like I say, maybe he's the wrong side of the TV divide. The opportunities have just dried up a little bit for him. I mean, the Vargas fight was entertaining. Rios he was obviously a level better than them. Yeah, I don't know. It did take me by surprise a little bit, I must admit.
Was it the Kendall Holt fight, Andy, where he got dropped in the first round, schooled him, then got dropped in the last round or something like that?
Knocked out. I'm sure it was a Kendall Holt fight. He took a massive. It was an arsehole winder left hook. Like he got put in his arse. I thought he was actually knocked out.
Holt could bang, couldn't he?
Oh, he could. Listen, I've had Kendall on the show before. He's a nice guy. He could crack when he had to. I remember his fight. He had a fight in Venezuela, I think.
It was Colombia. It was against Ricardo Torres, and then they had the rematch, I think it was, and he got really badly hurt by Torres, and then he absolutely blitzed him at the end of the first round.
I don't think that fight you're talking about, though, with Bradley and Holt, the last knockdown, I think it was 12th round. I don't think it was really. So I kind of right uppercut, I think it was, and I think it wasn't really knockdown. I think his glove touched, I think. So it wasn't. I didn't really call him knockdowns really, but yeah. Take the Pacquiao win in inverted commas out of the equation. I still think he's had a Hall of Fame career. Junior Witter, he travelled for that fight, beat Miguel Vasquez before that. I just wrote up his resume there, actually. Nate Campbell, when he was still kind of semi-relevant. Kendall Holt, Lamont Peterson.
He dominated Peterson.
Yep, he was undefeated as well. Louis Abregu, he was getting a wee bit of hype at that time. I remember people were crying out for that Devin Alexander fight, and they made it, and it was shit at the end of the day. But he made it dirty. He'd always went away. He always went about his business and stuff, and you can't really fault him. And then the Casamigos fight, that was just basically a kind of welcome fight to Top Rank before he got the Pacquiao fight. Provodnikov, who can forget that fight, man? That was just, he's dumped something like 30 pounds in weight because he got depressed after the shit he got for the Pacquiao win. So he comes back, goes to war with fucking one of the, at that time, probably one of the biggest, he wasn't the biggest puncher, but, he's one of the guys, an absolute fucking war machine, just kind of came forward, just went to war with you. Then obviously, I think he comfortably beat Marquez. It wasn't a split decision victory, but I did have him beating Marquez.
Yeah, same.
I think Marquez caught my that. I think he might have caught my left hook in that fight as well. He dipped the legs, or it might be the other way around about. I think I forget what it was, but that was a decent fight. The Chavez fight was, I think it was a split draw. Rios
fight though.
Rios has seen better days by that point, and it was his first fight with Teddy Atlas. So, I agree with the guys are saying that if you listen to him at the Pacquiao Horn fight, there was slippages there. It's no good sign. I mean, I was reading a report the other day that actually they've now tested Brady 111 brains of NFL or ex-NFL players, right? And every single one, apart from one, came back positive for CTE. You just didn't know, the punishment he took in that Provodnikov fight and to keep fighting. I just think he went to the well and he's never really been the same fighter since then, so there might be some sort of kind of damage done there. You can hear it in his voice a wee bit as well as he's trying to recall things and that.
Just to clarify for the listeners, Andy, that's like chronic trauma or something. I can't remember what the E is.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy is something. I fucked that up somewhere along the lines. It basically it's fat within the brain or the brain tissue. It doesn't grow, and it grows from the brain, inside the brain, out with it, and it fucks up the best thing to do is go and read up the story of Mike Webster, who was a Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker or something like that. He was, and see what happened to him. It was fucking insane, man. That guy could only sleep by electrocuting himself with a fucking taser. You know, he was pulling his teeth out, super gluing his teeth back in. It was fucking sad to see, man. I think quite a few guys were dying with that shit. And it's Rodney Harrison's another one, I believe. Yeah, it's going to be sad. See, we've just mentioned Benitez a couple of weeks back in that state he's in. So
and
I
Spinks
think
as well, yeah.
Leon Spinks and that. So I was saying, because I'm reading these kind of reports and stuff like that, Rodney Harrison, for example, I think he was a safety for the Patriots and a few other teams and that. He's saying because he's involved with like the commentating side of the sport, it keeps his mind sharp. So maybe the fact Bradley's in the commentating booth, he's got to think, he's got to like write notes and stuff. I think it might do him a world of good actually, help that brain, doesn't let the brain sleep and stuff. So it might do him a world of good actually. But I'm glad to see him retire. He's another one who will be a first ballot Hall of Famer without question. I think his resume before the first Pacquiao fight was definitely Hall of Fame worthy.
Final word to you, Hayter Lobach. Is there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, top guy for me. I'm a big fan of him. The Marquez win alone. This was Marquez's first fight after he'd knocked out Pacquiao. So, he beat the man who beat the man. He wasn't quite ever good enough to beat Pacquiao himself, but I thought he convincingly beat Marquez 8-4. Also took Jesse Vargas's though. Can't forget that. Even though it was a tough fight. There was one other guy I was thinking about at welterweight that he beat. Can't remember. Whatever. He had a good resume, good run. It's probably for the best he gets out now. The CTE is. I think it just affects some guys differently than others. I hope they get a look at OJ's brain once he dies.
I bet he's got it. I mean, who was the guy in Police Academy? Big Bubba Smith. I think he was a linebacker as well. He had it. He's died. But I was listening to Lance Armstrong's podcast the other day, and he had Troy Aikman interviewing him. He's a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. He's saying he notices things and stuff like that makes him kind of sit up and think. So, and you think about getting punched in the face for 12 rounds. That's not including the sparring that he had. He's been fighting since he's been like 8, 9-year-old. Think of the head trauma he's took. Even when his brain was still developing as a wee kid. Fucking hell.
Right, final bits and pieces. Don't get running off Smido too quickly because I want to get your thoughts on this Anthony Yarde, Frank Buglioni situation. Absolutely frig all going on next week. So I think what we're going to do is go for our pound for pound lists. So any listeners, if you want to hit me up on Facebook or Twitter with your pound for pound lists and I'll read them out. Hopefully that will keep us entertained. Also, we've got the Julius Ndongo Terence Crawford fight as well to preview. I think there's some titles on the line. I know Crawford has one. I'm not sure about Ndongo.
Unification, mate. This is I believe it's the first undisputed title fight since Hopkins De La Hoya.
Yeah, something like that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, like.
No, I think you're right. I read something. I don't know if it was Hopkins De La Hoya, but I definitely saw Hopkins anyway during the week. Just looking at the things, I don't think we'll discuss any of these. I know Shinzuki Yamanaka defends his WBC World Bantamweight title against the undefeated Luis Neri, which
15th.
is on the 15th of August, the 15th in the Shimatsu Arena in Kyoto, Japan. And the only other fight of note is maybe of interest to Hayter Dave Lobach. Eric Spring returns to the Sugar House Casino in Pennsylvania on Friday, the 11th of October, Dave. So you'll be going to that one, no doubt?
Never heard of it. Is there anyone else on that card?
No, it's all 6-rounders and 8-rounders and stuff.
Okay, no, forget it.
Dave's not going to that one. Right, Smido, tell me about this situation. Apparently, Frank Buglioni has been mandated by the board to defend his British light heavyweight title against Callum Johnson. And then Anthony Yarde is supposed to fight Jose Burton. Frank Warren has come in with some kind of spanner in the works by saying, let's just skip all this and go straight to the main event, Yarde against Buglioni. Do you think Frank's right? Do you think Eddie's right that they should just, agree to whatever the board have put forward first?
Well, there's elements of them both being right. We've had an eventful week in that Frank has gone back to classic Frank that we all know and love, whereby making offers for fights on a semi-serious basis via Kugan Cassius, which is always interesting. We've had the inclusion of pens as props this week to really hammer home the message given to rival promoter, and then rival promoter has responded. Anthony Yarde's making waves, as we know. Very much untested. I think is the WBO European champion, which means NAFL. But so we're in a position now whereby the most logical fight would be Anthony Yarde against Frank Buglioni. But logic don't always come into it from the promoters, and it certainly doesn't come into it from the British Board of Control. The British Board of Control have mandated Buglioni to fight Callum Johnson, and they've also mandated Yarde to fight Hosea Burton for the right to fight for the British light heavyweight title next. So they've basically mandated a title defence and a final eliminator. For the first time in possibly ever, Frank Warren called a press conference last week to basically announce a duck, which was interesting. They called a press conference to announce that Anthony Yarde will not be fighting Hosea Burton because, and this is where, you know, Frank will say one thing that kind of makes sense, but there's a hint of bullshit on there, and he will say that, why do we want to fight Hosea Burton? Because we want Frank Buglioni, and Frank Buglioni just knocked out Burton. It's a step down. We don't want it. Fair enough in simplicity form, but Hosea Burton would still be Anthony Yarde's toughest test to date if he was to fight him next, and it would still be the biggest fight he's had, so probably make the most money. But they're hiding behind the fact that Buglioni knocked Burton out last time. So,
well, this is the point to me, though. Sorry to interrupt you. What I was going to say was there's smoke and mirrors from Frank here because number one, Yarde has never proven himself against anybody. He looks the goods. I like the look of him, but let's be honest, he has fought nobody. And Frank is saying, well, he's got the higher world ranking. Come on, they've frigging skewed the rankings of the WBO by fighting Latvian flipping grave.
They basically own the WBO
dwellers.
Rankings, yeah. So yeah, and then on the other side of the divide, we've got Eddie Hearn saying, look, Buglioni and Yarde's a good fight, but we can't take it yet because Buglioni's been mandated to fight Johnson, and then the winner of Burton against Yarde. The next thing in the story is that this Wednesday, I believe there is a purse bid for both fights, including Yarde against Burton, which would act as a final eliminator. Now, it doesn't take a genius to work out that one or both parties are unlikely to be involved in that process, i.e. it is unlikely that Frank is going to let Yarde even be part of that process, never mind make a bid himself. So that's disappointing. They've both been making offers over IFL videos, 100 grand for this and 80 grand for that or whatever. So the thing is, as is normal in these sorts of situations, Eddie is the one that's coming across the better at this stage. He's talking down the camera. Anthony, don't let your people pull you out of this purse bid. Don't let them do it. And, this is going to be your biggest payday by 6 or 7 times. Don't let them pull you out. So that's how he's playing it. I mean, anything could happen, really. But what we have to remember is Buglioni is, to be honest, is not the priority for Eddie, and he's already lost at world title level under a previous promotion. He's only just come over to Hearn, and frankly, they would have preferred Hosea Burton / Joe Gallagher to beat Frank Buglioni last year or whenever it happened. So there's that to take into question. Callum Johnson, is he the second best out of the 4 that I've been speaking about in the last few minutes? Probably not. He's unproven. So how he's got into that position?
Who's he beaten?
Well, the answer to that is, Steve, I don't know. I genuinely do not know. Without getting box back up, I don't know. It's good that the board are trying to get them to fight each other. We've discussed on here a few times this year, particularly about the problems with the British title. I know Terry Dooley had some really good ideas on that and how to improve it, and it's something that's really been put on the back burner because of things like a WBO ranking and a WBO European title and a WBA international title, etc. That's why the British title is losing its appeal with fighters and fans alike, unfortunately. But I don't know what you guys think of the whole thing.
Do you know who I see a Yarde versus Buglioni fight going? This is a bit niche, but I've been thinking about it. I see Yarde coming out and hurting Buglioni early, maybe even dropping him in the first or second round. And then by the 4th or 5th round, Yarde is absolutely blowing out of his hole. I mean, he's absolutely knackered, but then he manages to get a second wind and comes back in the 8th round or 9th round and stops Buglioni. So it's a bit of, well, we knew his conditioning was under question. He just about got through. The power's definitely there. More questions than answers, basically, performance.
Yeah, I can see that, and like I say, there's plenty of holes in Frank Buglioni's in technique and etc. Apparently, Eddie was saying, oh, they don't want to fight Jose Burton, but they've made an offer into Ricky Summers, who Jose Burton has also just beat as well. So sorry, who Frank Buglioni's beat. So, so they're talking about we're above Jose Burton, yet they're going to offer for Ricky Summers. It's just, I don't know. It's nothing's going to happen because they're either side of the divide, and I think that Eddie seems to have built up a little bit of credits with the hardcores, or in his mind he thinks he has, because he let O'Hara Davis fight on Channel 5. So he will say, "Oh, I'm not scared to let for the right money. I'm not scared to let my fighters fight on other channels." But really, throughout the 4 or 5 years that Box Nation's been going, I think the only fight that's crossed the divide is John Ryder, and again, is John Ryder in the top 10 priorities for
Bradley Skeet against Sam Eggington as well.
Yeah. So we've had Skeet come over to Sky for one, and Ryder go over to Nation for one. At the time, were either of them top priorities for their promoters that they were leaving behind for the one fight,
No.
or the TV channel that they were leaving behind for the one fight? No, I think Skeet was, not long after the loss to Gavin, and Ryder had already been beat by Billy Joe Saunders. I think something like that. So we've not seen a high-profile fight take place, but across the divide. Watch this space this week, I would guess.
Excellent stuff, Smido. We'll park that one there for now and just keep an eye on it. I hope that out of all the comings and goings and the shenanigans, something happens, but I have a feeling that they're all going to be doing a bit of a Mexican standoff or whatever the four-way equivalent is, unfortunately, as is the boxing scene. Right, before we move on to Bellew of the Week, let's get one final thing sorted out. Rob Kelly, Juan Manuel Marquez retired this week as well. Now, he was a fighter I could get to grips with. Really liked Marquez. First saw him bursting onto the scene in 2003 when he beat up Manuel Medina, who was still a decent name at that point. And I had the chance gladly to see Marquez fighting against a young, green Orlando Salido in 2004 on the Hopkins De La Hoya undercard. Fantastic fighter, put his punches together lovely when he was in the groove. Real warrior as well, had that great tenacious spirit, Rob. Remember that first fight with Manny Pacquiao when he got knocked down 3-4 times in the first round and he came back to nearly win the fight? A really classy, superb fighter.
Absolutely. One of the best counterpunchers of all time too. Timing was excellent. Like you said, tenacious fighter. Like, the Pacquiao fights, the second fight, you could make an argument. You could say he was very unlucky. I thought the drawn fight, you could say he was very unlucky. Eventually got the knockout. I have to say question marks over a man of 40-something years of age coming into the ring as huge as he was that night. And thereafter in his career, which I don't know if that takes any, there's nothing been leveled against him or whatever, but great fighter and true Mexican warrior. Pity against Floyd that he was a bit too small. He might have got the big back earlier. He might have given him a fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Who's jumping in there? Is that you, Smith? Adam. Seem to have lost Adam for now. Hey, to Dave Lowback. The one thing I will say about Marquez is if you look up and down his record, even when he's not fighting the big guys, your Pacquiaos, your Barreras, your Floyd Mayweathers, he never really had a dud fight. I mean, if you look after Medina, he fought against Derek Gainer, Victor Polo, Chris John. He went over to Indonesia to fight him. Turd Sack Coquillette Jim, not the greatest fighter, 24-1. Jim Rex Jacker, 27-2. Rocky Juarez, we all knew who he was. Joel Casamayor, Juan Diaz. Even when he wasn't fighting the big guys, hater, he was still fighting decent names. He just had a superb run.
He did, and I can't really take that away from him. The one fight I would like to take away from him is the Pacquiao 4. I mean, there's no question who won that fight. However, I believe Mimo had a hand in it. Marquez looked radically different as soon as that guy was added to his camp, and it was very questionable. On the forums, they were saying, "Well, he just added plyometrics to his fight camp." No, I don't think that plyometrics makes you look like Frankenstein's monster.
Wasn't it horse's piss or something they said he was drinking?
Well, he was drinking his own for a while. Let's not forget that. I think he drank that prior to Pacquiao 3. Or no, he drank that prior to the Floyd fight. Really didn't help him very much, did it? But Yeah, I've gone off on the guy. I used to like him more, but he was kind of a whiner whenever a decision wouldn't go his way, even if it was justified, which in my opinion it was justified against Pacquiao. All fights I think Pacquiao won except for the fourth one. The second one for me was the closest, but then against Bradley again, he whined about that. And Nacho whined about that. Just annoying. And then add that to the Mimo juice. I kind of went off on him in his later years. Oh, and I rooted against him.
Andy, I don't know if you've ever been guzzling your piss to look like Hulk Hogan, but just forgetting about the roids thing, I suppose that's a bit rich for me, as I was criticising Ray Beltran earlier. We obviously can't get away from it. If he's been roiding, he's been roiding, but look at the Katsidis fight, Andy. Look at the Juan Diaz first fight.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful times.
Yeah, well, especially the Juan Diaz knockout. I mean, as Rob says, one of the great counter punchers of all time. You know, he really had to change his style up, I suppose, as his career kind of gathered pace. You know, he was basically a quintessential boxer, but he never really kind of seemed to kind of pick it up, or you know, he did in the end, I suppose. I mean, I think it was really running about. Probably the Freddie Norwood defeat, actually. That's when he started kind of reinvent himself. Obviously, he had that horrific defeat to Chris John, which, by the way, 9 times out of 10, I would probably say Marquez would probably win that fight.
He got points deducted for low blows as well, didn't he? It was never really going to go his way, that one.
I suppose, but I think he even lost, didn't lose his first fight on a DQ or something. You know, I suppose he wasn't averse to being a dirty bastard, but typical Mexican. I just think the only negative of his career, well, 2 negatives actually. One, he was definitely on the juice when he knocked out Pacquiao. I've no fucking doubt in my mind he was juicing for probably 2011. No, I wouldn't say. I'd probably say aye, but 2011, 2012. And the second one would be is he never fought Eric Morales. He fought everybody else. You know, Barrera, Pacquiao. If he'd fought Morales, you could have had your kind of wee kind of featherweight, super featherweight.
He was a stubborn old mule, Andy, wasn't he? Because he was negotiating too hard over the Morales, and the reason why he was in Indonesia for the Chris John fight in the first place was because he wouldn't accept the money they were putting down for the Pacquiao rematch. That was his undoing at times.
Yep, and he took peanuts for that Chris John fight as well. And the thing is, he got offered great money to have another fight with Pacquiao after he knocked him out. And I read comments, you know, this guy's meant to be a trained accountant, and I believe he's got involved, or his money's been tied up in he's been scammed out of some cash and that. And you know, people were always saying, 2014 that when he fought Alvarado, he was always going to come back with another fight. He's been injury prone and stuff. And you just say to yourself, you know, if he just took that Pacquiao fight, he'd have got that, you know, career high payday. He would never had to fucking fought Timothy Bradley and get beat to him, or you know, beat Mike, go 12 rounds of Mike Alvarado, always high Mike, you know. So you know, a couple of business decisions, I don't think he's actually made the right call on that. But, you know, fighter-wise, you know, he was fantastic. I think he got dropped off Katsides, I think, did they know? That was before Burns fought Katsides, but
it was a left hook. He was really hurting that.
He was actually, you know, the Juan Diaz fight was always, you know, the stoppage was absolutely fantastic. That was a great fight. You know, I think he was behind one of the scorecards in that fight. I'll tell you what, anybody listening who's never seen this fight, the Casamayor fight, watch it. That was pure surgical, you know, uppercuts, you know, just the sheer technique of the guy was absolutely fantastic. The Barrera fight was quite decent as well. You know, I think he beat up quite a few guys. Scott Harrison beat him. Victor Polo, I think he fought Scott Harrison at one point.
He drew with Scott Harrison, I think, didn't he?
Aye. Salido, obviously, you know, it was a decent enough fight, I suppose.
It was a terrible fight. it wasn't too good on the eyes.
There wasn't a good. I mean, he won it pretty handily, didn't he? He fucking pretty much scored him. But the Casamayor fight was always one, you know, especially to stop that guy as well. But just the way he went about it was absolutely fantastic. Juan Diaz after that, Floyd Mayweather, and the Juan Diaz rematch. But you know, he's always going to be remembered the guy that stopped the fucking juggernaut, because you always thought, you never forget it, you know, Jim Lampley almost cried, shit in his pants when he fucking landed that right hand on Pacquiao. You know, he was in tears after the fucking fight. And if he could have walked away then, he wouldn't need to fought Bradley and Alvarado. He could have walked away then, just, you know, fucking God. You know, I could have fucked up the Mayweather Pacquiao fight and all that sort of shit and that. But you know, you got to hand it to him. You know, he turned the business. And as I say, he was probably fucking full of the juice, but who isn't he? Yeah.
And Andy there as well for anyone listening. Andy mentioned Katsidis against Marquez and then Marquez against Casamayor. Just to complete the triangle, Casamayor against Katsidis was an amazing fight as well. If you haven't seen that, go and look it up on YouTube. Final word to you, Smido. Favourite Juan Manuel Marquez moments? I'm assuming you're a fan like us.
Yeah, I was a bit later to the party than you guys. As Jim Lampley said in that famous post-fight comments after Pacquiao, he was kind of overshadowed by the Barrera and Morales of the early 2000s, and he had to change his style a little bit to be a bit more aggressive, and he did that, and his counter-punching in the pocket was fantastic. I really enjoyed the Katsidis fight. I mean, I don't normally give credit to Mayweather, but the way that Mayweather handled Marquez off an 18-month layoff himself, and how Marquez, went on to become more than competitive at the top level after the Mayweather fight really shows how good Mayweather was, to be honest. The final point from me, really, that Pacquiao 4 fight, I think, was the one and only time that I've watched a fight live and genuinely feared for the safety and health of a fight. I thought he could have been dead, to be honest. He was just laid out flat. Obviously, we know he'd been juicing, or he looked like a juicer, sorry. And we thought that before, and teamed up with Meme, and that was the result. It's just a shame that it's been. Has he not fought since that Pacquiao fight? What was his last fight? Bradley, was it?
No, he fought Mike Alvarado in his final fight in May 2014.
2 fights after Pacquiao.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, May 2014. It's just a shame there was no definitive end to his career. There was talks that he might fight Cotto at one stage, Pacquiao for the 5th time. Other names banded about as well. There was no definitive end to his career.
Kell Brook, am I right in saying that his name was banded about at that point?
Yeah, but not by Marquez, I would add. But yeah, it's basically been 3 years of obviously because due to the language barrier, but not necessarily coming from Marquez about I'll fight him or I'll fight him. It was just people were throwing his name into the ring of their fighter rather than Marquez trying to band himself about it. If you see what I mean. But do we know why there has been a definitive decision now? Is he just too old? Has he been injured again? I don't know. Like, what's triggered? After 3 years? What's triggered last week's announcement?
Not sure. I think he's just had enough, Adam. I just saw that he'd retired. I haven't seen any statements from him.
Yeah, same. So
his body's breaking up. He's got knee problems. I remember reading sometime before he turned pro. I think his pro career was actually delayed by about 2-3 years because he had a back problem, spinal problem or something like that. He's always been having kind of problems with injuries.
He's just decided to pack it in. Favourite Marquez moment then, Smido, just finally from you?
Probably the Pacquiao knockout or the Katsidis fight. I really enjoyed that.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Adam. Right, let's get Bellew of the Weeks down and then we shall get out of here. We always manage to squeeze the juice. I've had quite a few nominations, Andy, so you never know. We shall see. But Amir, let's just say that he is a front runner for this award after his breakup on social media this week. Pray for Amir. Right, first nomination we've had in. We've called the casuals as usual. We have Franny 550 has nominated Matthew Macklin for his commentary last week on the who was it on last week? I'm drawing a blank. Charlo against Highland, wasn't it, on that fight? Actually, said Matthew Macklin, no one has ever tried to put pressure on Floyd and have always tried to box him. Okay, Matthew. Second one from Matthew Macklin, which was nominated by David McKenna. Bellew of the Week on Sky Sports News. He said that Buster Douglas was an Olympic gold medalist. Not that I'm aware of, Andy.
Aye. I'll leave that one.
Michael Gaiety has nominated Billy Joe Saunders. He was talking through Box Nation and he said, maybe the WBO gods were saying, listen, Bill, he was going to KO you.
Oh, dear.
Maybe he's right. Maybe he was going to get KO'd by Kurt Sidsley. He put paid to Tommy Langford quick enough.
In the end, I think the boxing ability would have shown through it. I mean, it might have been different if the fight went late. Maybe if you look at, I'm basing this purely off the Antoine Douglas knockout, but he was like a freight train that entire fight. And we know Billy Joe's good for 6 rounds. What happens when he gets deep waters against a guy who's just constant? By the way, it's interesting. I've never heard any more about that story yet. Hey, I wonder fucking
What happens when your family's tied up by the mob?
Aye. You did what you're told. Was it Armenians he was working for? It's like the guys who, what was it, The Shield? Remember they mad fuckers?
Ah, that's right.
Like Grand Theft Auto or something. He's like a new character in Grand Theft Auto, fighter / carjacker /
nomination for Dave Schaefer, who is a Twitter personality apparently. Moyne sent this one in. No disrespect to Triple G or Canelo, says Dave Schaefer, but Clarissa Shields versus Nikki Adler is the fight of the year. T-Rex is the most impressive boxer lately.
Is this the fight of the weekend that she actually schooled the lassie?
Yeah, she battered her in 5 rounds. I haven't seen it actually.
How is that fight of the year?
Women's boxing is absolute shit. I mean, listen, sorry ladies if you're listening and stuff, but it fucking is. It's awful. And that's no sexist and that's just fact. It's just, you've not got a talent pool. And who wants to see women fighting anyway? I mean, unless they're greased up in like love oil and want to wrestle and that, I'm done for that, like.
Sorry if Andy's offended any of our female listeners there. We have another nomination for women's boxing at the end of this as well, so stay listening for that one. Right, Joe Ringer has sent in this classic from Spencer Knobhead Fearon. Spencer Fearon was talking after the Gerald Washington-Jarrell Baby Miller fight.
Oh, no.
He said, I like Gerald Washington, says Spencer Fearon. He reminds me of Ken Norton.
Oh, fuck no.
After he'd lost the fight.
Ken Norton, I mean, Peter, I feel sorry for Ken. Imagine even getting fucking muted in the same breath as Gerald fucking Washington.
After he'd lost to.
Fuck's sake.
That just shows that Spencer Fearon, as if we didn't know it anyway, he's just a prick who just name drops fighters from the past.
I said this before, by the way. You know, he gets put up as this like boxing historian. There are no, and I mean, there's like a couple of guys I listen to on boxing history and stuff like that. Right, there are no real historians out there. They are fucking awful. And Spencer Fearon isn't even a fucking boxing guy. I don't give a fuck if he's an ex-fighter or no. He doesn't fuck. You know, to even mention Haha Davis in the same breath as Lloyd fucking Marshall, you know, fuck off. Seriously, just fuck off.
Hashtag the knowledge. Guy Griffiths has nominated Adrian Broner. Boxing Tipster put this one up. They said Garcia must have hit him pretty hard. Adrian Broner put up box records of Muhammad Ali, Roy Jones Jr., Sugar Ray Robinson, all these great fighters from the past. And he was basically making the comparison. Look at my record against theirs. I'm a great.
Honestly, I can't wait till he kills himself. I'm going to piss in his grave.
Muhammad Ali would be shaking in his boots at Jason Woodstow.
Sake. You lot are getting worse. Right, Joey Mastermode has nominated
That shaking in his boots thing wasn't actually a pun, but I get it now.
Oh, right, okay. Well done on an accidental gag there, Dave, you nasty person. World Boxing News has been nominated from Joey at Mastermode 33. Candidate of the week, they said that Billy Joe Saunders won a bronze medal at the Beijing Olympics in 2008. Unless you get a bronze for going out in the second round, says Joey. He didn't get one. Skip Bayless has been nominated from the Boxing Bet Guru. Skip Bayless says Floyd is a fake tough guy offering to wear 8-ounce gloves when he knows the rules say 10. He's afraid of his brittle hands and Connor's brick fists in the 8 ounces.
I heard that comment. I don't think that deserves it. He's right in what he's saying because, you know, we all know anything is at welterweight below is, you know, welterweight and above, sorry, is 10 ounce.
Yep.
Anything below that you can wear 8. And I've actually heard stories about people fighting with 6 ounce gloves on that's doing as far as super featherweight, but that was like proper back in the day. So I know what Skip said. He's riding that Conor train hard, like he is fucking going in balls deep on Conor McGregor for this fight.
Nomination for Skip Bayless there then. Fan boxing rankings by way of James Mitosen have nominated Nesta Gibbs, who apparently is from the Boxing Voice.
Grass. Yeah, fucking grass.
He jumped straight in on the Amir Khan thing and he created a show on Blog Talk Radio. My show, guys, jump on now. Amir Khan divorcing Fariel Makdoun accuses her of cheating with Anthony Joshua on the Boxing Voice radio show. Flip me, talk about jumping on the bandwagon. Who wants to discuss that, Rob?
Oh yes, let's please do this.
Let me tell you something. This is a classic case. This is a Shane Mosley-esque case of slacking on your mackin', baby. You're the champion. You have to understand how to maneuver that a little bit better. Listen, You should know if you could get with a bird, if she's the type of bird that's going to Snapchat Anthony Joshua behind your back just by her whole demeanor. And she's cold as ice. See what she said to him on Twitter? Oh, our relationship was over just like your boxing career. I should have known that was not the first time she came out of her mouth to say something like that before he walked up the aisle. And all that big act on in the build up to his last fight, into the Canelo fight, he's there. Oh, I'm just a family man. No, you're not. You're a cretin. You tried to proposition the bird from the valleys for a threesome for 500 quid. And allegedly, as she said in her book, and your wife counterpunched you and made you take that L because she's gone with the real chap. And I was bitter on AJ, but now I'm team AJ all the way, baby.
By the way, see if AJ ever gets lost, they seek him here, they seek him there, they seek him everywhere. Yeah. All you got to do is just look for the nearest clunge, and that's where he is, by the way.
Lock up with Mrs.
Oh, Mike, Rob's dropped the mic there anyway. Fair enough. Ben Thorns has nominated Paddy Power. They said Amir Khan is now 100-1 to be Anthony Joshua's next opponent. Oh, flip me, they're flying in, man.
I want to know where's the missus on the pound for pound list now.
Well, I seen Amir tweet out actually that he's way back to San Fran. He's going to get back in the gym, big options, big fights and that. Listen, there's only one big fight you've got coming up, by the way, and that's a fucking divorce settlement you need to try and fucking protect. Because you go, oh, by the way, wait, she's saying he's not paying any alimony towards his daughter. That's fucking out of order, by the way.
And see him on a Snapchat as well. Oh, I didn't like the way she treated me. Oh, boo-hoo.
Do you think Rob Amir was in worse shape after this or after the Alvarez fight?
I tell you, this could be the biggest end of his career. She's getting half of all that check for his training, all those knockouts he's after taking, and she's just going to be sleeping on a big bed of money.
We're
in the background.
We're about to see if Amir Khan has actually got a brain at all and actually had her sign a fucking prenup. Because I can understand if you're with a lassie, before you made it big, you made all your cash and that you didn't take a prenup because she's been with you since the start. You trust her in that. And in the day, she might deserve it. But you meet this lassie from America. By the way, she was a broad-looking lassie, and she goes and fucks herself up like that. You know, I didn't usually like talking about folks' wives on the fucking podcast and stuff, but this deserves a mention. I can't blame Amir Khan for getting his cock out in Skype and stuff because look at the state. Look at a mess she's made of herself, man. These lips and the eyes and
yeah.
It's just
looks
awful.
Like one of those like sex robots that they're gonna have.
Aye, she looks like one of the Barbie dolls. She's not a proper Muslim. I don't care what anybody says. She's not a real Muslim.
But like, how is he looking at her going, oh, this is the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with, this one with the cold dead eyes?
I think she's all right, like, but and beggars can't be choosers, boys.
I'll put it this way, Steve. I hope you're not too hot on the fucking foreplay because she'd fucking melt with you, by the way. I tell you right now, she's fucking plastic.
Right. Anyway, we have more.
Mosley's exes are putting her out of there.
Aye. Jin Mosley's the ATG bitch, but you know, Mrs. Khan, I don't know.
Sugar Shane's going to have Mrs. Khan as his flipping director of operations next week.
The thing is, I don't want to go right in on it, right? But I've heard stories about Khan, right? I've heard about alcohol, I've heard about drugs, I've heard about the gambling, I've heard about the strip clubs. You know, I've no objection to him doing that. He's a grown man. People put religion into it for their own purposes and stuff. I don't give a fuck what he is. You know, end of the day is you've got cash, you're a young man, you know, you do daft things. I'm sitting with a bottle of wine just now to open it up, but you know, we do all day stupid things. You know, if I was in his position, and I'd probably be doing the same things, you know, honestly, because cash, that type of cash would just fucking ruin me. But end of the day is when you get a wife and family, you got kids and that and stuff, you got to screw them out a wee bit. You know, you have your bad times and stuff. But she's had an awful time. She's went and made her fucking self look like an extra out of fucking Barbie and Ken. She's horrendous looking.
I think you're right in what you're saying, that these guys have to watch who they're getting married to if they're not with the bird from before they have money, because like I've even seen it in the music industry. Like you wouldn't believe that, like the stuff that goes down, the lengths that these birds go to get to next to celebrities is crazy. Like so much pressure. So they shouldn't even, if they get to that stage and they're single, well, stay single, because nobody cares then if it's just some, you know what I mean? But if you marry her then and she doesn't feel like she loves you anymore, you know what I mean?
Consequences.
Yep.
Right, anyway, nomination for Paddy Power there. Box Royalty has nominated Tommy the Guru Allen, who has been absent for 2 weeks now. Guru was in a Twitter war with Danny Cassius Connor, who is a professional boxer. Cassius said, troll someone else, you fat, boring waste of life. Go and achieve something, anything. Some fat, disgusting piece of shit giving fighters stick. Oh, boom.
I noticed Cassius Connor is on a big win streak now, although in that win streak, his best opponent was 13-2, Ricky Boylan. Most of them have been 7-24, 3-8, 4-26. But he hasn't lost in a while.
I like Donnie's response to him though. Didn't he say something like, "You're supposed to work in the demolition industry," and then he said, "What is it? Chris Jenkins is usually doing the demolition work or something." I think Jenkins knocked him out, didn't they?
Yeah. Cassius Connor said he was trying to advertise for Edwards and Sons Demolition Limited, and he put up a picture, and Donnie said, "I thought Chris Jenkins usually handles your demolition work." So Danny Cassius Connor responds, "Don't worry about demo work. I often demolish your mum's Gary Glitter and leave shit all over her bedroom walls. Looks like a scene out of Troy."
Oh dear, we should get Danny Cassius Connor on the pod.
Only if Tommy comes on.
Right?
Danny, if you're listening, get in touch. Right, anyway, Joey Master Mode has nominated Shuli, Amir Khan, and AJ's Twitter is dead cert for Bellew of the Week. We were just talking about that. George has nominated Matchroom Boxing. This pretty much sums up the Eddie and Matchroom pretending to be more involved in the Crawford and Dongo fight. Matchroom Boxing tweeted out, "Here's Julius Crawford and Timothy Bradley at the Lomachenko fight in LA." A bit of a typo there. And he's also nominated Joe Gallagher. He looks in awful nick trying to hold the pads. He does, you know. There's a picture of Joe doing the pads on his Twitter, and he looks like he's banged on about flipping 20 stone, man. Joe doesn't look like he's in good shape at all.
Excellent news. The dogs will be happy.
I know, yeah, looks like he's going to have a heart attack out walking them or something. And final one is to Larry Grant, who looks like he's some kind of American footballer by his picture on his Twitter. He said, "Clarissa Shields is a beast. Pretty soon, she should be on the pound for pound list. Has any other woman ever been on that?" And Sean McLaren just said, "Bellew of the Week." So there you go. Any other nominations, guys? I think we know who the winner is, don't we?
Ross Kemp for responding to a fake Carol Froch account. Did you see that?
Oh, about Madagascar and the 80,000 people. Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
But hang on, we just need to man up. Amir Khan gets it. His wife handed him the worst L he could take. But Amir, if you're listening, I know a couple of people who know Amir listening to this show. You got to listen. I know it's a bad time for you, mate. All that type of shit. But you got to back up your daughter, man. Fucking hell. If what your wife's saying is fucking true, you're not paying your way for her. You're a cunt. Sort it out.
Well, if Amir Khan is the one who paid for that work she had done, then he served her a huge L as well. So maybe they're even.
Yeah, I suppose.
All unanimously decided then we'll just pick Amir this week?
Absolutely.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
Unanimous agreement there all at once.
Congratulations. There were a few good ones this week as well, but Amir, you have outdone them. Fair play to you. You might not be a boxing world champion anymore, but you're still Bellew of the Week worthy.
How far do you think he has to beating Devin Alexander for the top spot of all time, ATG?
He's having a good go, isn't he?
He's fucking doing his best, but Devin's still up there. Like,
my favourite part was when he said, "Man like AJ can have my leftovers. Like you have a choice."
By the way, did you see AJ on that power machine? Getting it right good thrusts and that. Oh my word, man. I bet she was walking like John Wayne after fucking 6 hours in the saddle, by the way. Oh my fucking word.
These two aren't winners, but I have to mention them. They're related to this whole Khan thing.
Kill Brook.
I didn't see his comment, but Dillian White and Derek Chisora both chimed in. Dillian White said, "LOL, Anthony Joshua. There's 3.7 billion women on Earth, yet you choose to sleep with your friend and fellow Olympian's wife, Amir King Khan. Stay humble." And Chisora responds, "Don't be upset because no one wants to sleep with your wife."
What about Kell Brook? Apparently on a flight with his let's get this right, friend to Spain again, gets pissed with his friend and gets met at the airport in Barcelona by the police, and he and his friend are given a speaking to. I wonder what's going to happen with that one.
I don't know. Nice cheap flights for them, Andy, anyway.
Well, smoking in the toilets apparently. Smoking a
Mile 5
fag.
Club.
Smoking a fag in the toilet, by the way. There's more to this story than we should fucking know.
Fuck's sake. Right, I think that's as good a place as any to end it. Thank you very much, Andy Patterson, on rare form this weekend. Also, Dave the Hater Lowback. He ain't fussy. He turned down the pussy to come on with the boys, so fair play to him. Well done, Dave. Adam Smido-Smith was on as well, and Rob Kelly. We sort of had Big Russ on. Thanks for him for coming on. Gabe Lewis was on. We had about 5 different versions of Donny Baseball as well on tonight, so thanks for him. And if there's anybody else and I've forgotten you, then I do apologise. But give us a shout next week, everybody. Pound for pound lists. Smido, I believe you've got Adonis Stevenson up to number 3 or 4, is it?
Well, I had him at 2 this morning, but then I watched Lomachenko, and I've had to put Lomachenko at 2 and Stevenson at 3.
Excellent.
Tell you one thing. This wouldn't happen to Adonis Stevenson.
Adonis takes what he wants. Right, yeah, get your pound for pound list in next week, everybody. Thanks to everybody.
He takes what he wants. Adonis Stevenson, he does what he wants.
We'll catch you all next week, guys. Thank you. See you later. Bye.
Eddie's a grass.